but Bane comes in.
He does it! He does it! He collides!
Hello everyone, and welcome back to another exciting week here of PUBG Mobile action here at the PUBG Mobile Pro League North America Fall 2023 season. I'm your host, Jason Kaplan, and I'm back here after 2 days hiatus with Seven filling in for me, doing a fantastic job like he always does. But like we always have here on the show, this is not a show you can do yourself. I have an analyst come in, and it's for the first time here going to be joining us on PMPL. Now you guys might know who he is. The unfortunate part is, it seems like he couldn't make it in NA, so he went all the way over to Japan, and then still realized he couldn't make it in Japan, so he came back to NA. Hey, Uneven, how you doing, man?
That's a really good career wrap-up. Thank you for that.
Oh man, like I'm excited to have you on the show, right? We had Zute coming in, an ex-pro player. He's on the show as a caster. I guess you're still technically a pro player, but you're coming in to be an analyst, man. I'm excited to hear kind of what you have to say about potentially like that first week. What's your overall recap of what went down?
You know, overall for NA, was pleasantly surprised. You know, I've had a lot of heard a lot of bad things, let's just say, but you know, I thought they had some really nice clean late games, and those are my favorite. And they showed some individual prowess, especially YKG, especially oh man, what's their name, Puppeteers in the last 5 days. Yeah the last 5 games rather. They've had some really nice conversion rates, showed some really proactive plays. You know, that's what I like to see.
Well, don't blow your load too early on them just yet, right? We'll get to them in a little bit of time. Before we get there, though, we're going to talk about Monster Energy, which is our official energy drink partner here at PMPL. You guys can pick one up yourself and unleash the beast like Puppeteers were doing, as Uneven said. But man, like this last week was, I find very interesting, right? Because we have these big differences in tiers of skill across some of these teams at the moment. If you just looked at the overall leaderboards, you guys would know, like you have YKG, you have N-Hyper, you have Extreme Slayers. I don't necessarily want to put Puppeteers in there just yet, though they are on their way. But the point discrepancy between like 3rd and 4th, and obviously from there on down, it's showing there's clearly a divide in NA when it comes to skill at the moment, at least in that first week.
Yeah, most definitely. You know, one thing I look out for is in those middle of the pack teams, is the consistency and the rates of like really low eliminations. Like when they're dying in 15th and 16th place, I want to see very few of those in the top half, top 8 in the leaderboards. But unfortunately, right now we're seeing a lot of those, especially Execute and the 5th place team. We're seeing a lot of early eliminations that we don't want to be seeing. And you know, those are things that should be reserved for the bottom half of the leaderboard. So NA is showing a lot of inconsistency in the middle pack. For sure.
You make me so happy that you said the word consistency, because I feel like we say that so often on the show, and there's never like a pro to like correct us if we're right or wrong. But I'm glad we're on the right track here. Let's take the right track. Let's take a look at our calendar to get you guys up to date what's happening across these next few weeks, because we've had our first phase finish off. That kicked off and finished on Sunday. But our second phase is now going to be beginning today. So we have 2 days of action followed up by 1 day off, and then 3 days more until then we hit next week, where there will be no games played. But of course, we'll be back the following week for the final phase, and then the finals as well, man. And honestly, there's really a lot to talk about when we look at this as well, because not only do you have PMGC around the corner, you also have the regionals around the corner. You have a chance to really level up your own game, where we didn't really get to see YKG, I'd say, perform to level that we maybe hoped for when it came to regionals. But you know, you from prior experience as well, like the step up from just doing PMPL NA to America's regionals, it is tough. It is really hard to deal with it, I feel like, and I want to know your thoughts on that.
Absolutely, and it kind of ties into what I was saying before. I think the quality of the consistency of the middle pack teams, so I'm talking from 5th to 12th place, is almost the most important factor in determining like the overall difficulty of a lobby. And when you're skipping from any regionals to Americas, that middle of the pack quality just jumps significantly higher. You know, it's always not too hard if it's a very top heavy lobby. You know, it's only 1 or 2 or 3 teams. You can still sneak in and get those points. But when there is a higher average quality for those teams from 5th to 12th, as I said, it every single fight and altercation becomes, you know, exponentially
harder.
Exactly.
Yeah, ooh, we're in sync. Look at that. But you're very right. When you look at like the top tiers of NA and they go into Americas and they become the middle tier of Americas, that's obviously not a good sign, and that's something that we need to see some of these teams fix going forward in PUBG Mobile Esports.
Yeah.
Let's get an idea of the format. If you guys missed out in the first week, again, I'm going to remind you about how this whole thing works. We have the 3 phases, as you saw before, 5 days of play. We have 20 different teams broken down into 5 different groups. It means there's 4 teams per group, and that means one group will be sent out every single time until we get to the finals, where we're only going to have our 16 teams. 4 out of those 20 will be completely eliminated, and there's just 3 days, 6 matches a day, and then our top teams, of course, top 5, going to be getting into regionals. Now, obviously, taking a look at this last week, there's a couple of teams who did start to show some sort of signs of life. Obviously, our normal players like YKG, like your Hypers, Extreme Slayers, even Puppeteers, Execute had their moments. But there's one team in particular that we really got to focus on here. It's got to be MEZEXIS, because this is one of the teams who's technically in the running for PMGC points. They're one of the higher ranked teams, and luckily for us, we have a quick interview with them before we do hop into our current PMGC standings. So let's take a look at this.
Hey, what's up, everybody? It's Hot Jukes. I'm here with Inactive from MEZEXIS Esports. How you doing, brother?
I'm doing pretty good. What about you, my friend?
Let's go. Let's go. So, first question. How was that experience, right? Playing in your first LAN during PMWI?
I would say it was a really good experience, and I would say that would be, well, that actually is the best feeling for a gamer. And I can say also that is it, like every gamer dreams, and it feels really good, like making it to a global stage.
By the way, is that the first time you ever met all your teammates in person?
Yeah, all of them.
Wow, how was that? That must have felt good, huh?
I already met Peralta before in here in my country, but it was really nice to meet the other players like Hex and Trick over there. It was really good.
Beautiful, beautiful. Next question is, how do you guys, assess your mistakes in PMWI, and how did you take it into preparation going into PMPL Fall?
Well, I'll say that just watching out this stream, taking a look into every single details, and take care of everything that we think that can make us fall again, and get ready for the next things that will be coming.
Gotcha. And obviously you did make some changes, right? I've heard you had some roster swaps recently. How did the new roster come to be, and how did you prepare it together?
Okay, so yeah, we got a totally new roster, 6 for me and Peralta, and we've been working hard for like a couple months now, and we've been doing good, getting ready for this coming split. And about the preparation, everyone got to take care about his individual skills, and when we are not training individually, we're training as a team, and obviously playing scrims and community tournaments and all that.
And Active brings up a good point there, and even you can probably attest to this. Getting to your first LAN, meeting all your teammates, it's every gamer's dream. How was it for you, man? Do you remember your first event that you played in?
Oh, absolutely. It was one of my favorite ones because I won. So that's a good way to start off. But yeah, it is absolutely amazing. You talk to these guys 6 to 8 hours a day for months and months, and you finally get to meet them and see what they're like in real life. You don't really have don't really know what they look like and stuff. Gamers tend to be shy, but it's an awesome bonding experience, and it really helps with team cohesion and everything.
Man, I don't know how you do it. I can't even stand talking with Seven for 3 hours a day for only 10 days of an entire PMPL, let alone that long. But let's take a look at the PMGC points. Right, we mentioned before we actually watched the interview with Inactive that there's some teams close, and we can see down towards the bottom, obviously a lot of the newer teams coming through, no chance. How are some of these teams ever gonna, if you're BULUC CHABTAN, you have to get 220 points more than K19 gets throughout the rest of this event. So you have to keep up with them. You have to surpass them, and obviously they're not even in contention for first place. Let's take a look on the front page here and you get an idea of where the real tough stuff is going to be. And You can see Extreme Slayers 501, Lotus 457, Execute 401. You're looking like, you know, Jason, those teams, they seem to be pretty close. Well, and even let's take a look at the front page, the entire front page of our first through fourth, because it spikes hard. And if you're Mazexis here, you need 260 points more than YKG gets the rest of this event, which is already tough as you look at them in 13th place. So in my mind, and I think you'll agree, there's only 2 teams really contesting this PMGC slot.
Definitely. I mean, you know, I guess it's always good to have hope, but in this situation, you just kind of have to accept that you're playing for practice, you're playing for America's qualifications, you're playing for that little bit of money that you can get here, and then next season. But
exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly, right? There's going to be another PMGC 2024. Absolutely. And these teams like Mazexis, Wall Street, Bets Gaming, Extreme Slayers, Lotus, Execute, etc. Like you said, even perfect time to get some practice in, get that experience in, try to get to regionals, right? I think that's the most important part for any of these teams that aren't in first or second place. Get to regionals, you play a better tier of teams, especially if you haven't played against them before, and you get some experience that you can carry with you into next season.
Absolutely. America's is like, it should be the goal for all these players that haven't had any international play yet. It is the best taste, the closest you're going to get to PMGC. It's going to teach you a whole lot if you're receptive to it. It's going to up the quality. You're going to like open your mind to like, okay, this is how you're supposed to play. And so you need to be shooting for that. And, you know, who knows? Maybe you'll get through the top 3 and qualify to PMGC from there too.
Who knows? Obviously, we don't know just yet. We won't know for a little bit of time since that's going to be happening later over in October. Let's start to focus in on a team. You mentioned them earlier at the top of the show. I made you, not blow your load early because we're going to get to them now. It's got to be Puppeteers. This team we talked quite a bit about last season. We're talking quite a bit about this season. However, the first 2 days, we really couldn't talk anything positive about them. As we'll take a look at a head-to-head between their day 2 up against their day 5. So their worst day up against their best day so far in this event. And not even, that's a complete 180.
Yeah, I mean, this is very, very drastic. And this is one of those things I was talking about. You know, consistency is really important. But when we see a shift of momentum like this, I can't help but, subscribe to the hype train. Because if they keep it up, I mean, like, it is very beneficial to close off your week like this and come in hot for the second week.
Yeah.
They can absolutely change it around. Sometimes there's slow starts. Sometimes you don't play very well. And then you pick it up slowly, and slowly that momentum starts benefiting you. And I'm looking out for them this week for sure. I would not rule them out.
And the thing is, like, it's not like a normal event or a normal like final, right? It's not 4 days, it's not 3 days, it's like 3 weeks, which means you technically can have that bad week. And all it's going to mean if you're Puppeteers in this case is like you weren't really in contention for PMGC anyways. You're not going to fall that far behind in bonus points either, because first place in the week 1, which was YKG, got 10 points. So if you come out with like, I don't know, 5, oh, congrats, you're 5 points behind the #1 team going into the finals. That's not really that big of a deal. So definitely for them, like having an ending on a high note, I think as we take a look at their player stats as well for the entire event, we're starting to see some players really start to feel out the lobby a little bit better. And honestly, Dong was one of those players. He was the rock of the team. And we're seeing yet again, he's starting to be that another time. Yeah,
I mean, these are some ridiculous kills. Elimination numbers. I mean, the first 2 days, I calculated the average kills per day, and he was getting 2.5 kills eliminations per day. And obviously, he turns out a 38 elimination performance, which means something happened in those last 3 days that really boosted his numbers to the moon. And if he can keep it up, I mean, this is a absolute massive difference for this team and like what they're going to look like on the leaderboards with an individual performance like this.
I mean, don't be shy, right? You were telling me how like Dong in the first 2 days of play had 5 eliminations, which means he got 33 eliminations across 3 days. So averaging 11 elims a day is ridiculous. And to go from such a slow start from those 2 days to this is a phenomenal showing out of this team. And I mean, even Liao Zheng, 27 eliminations, Reckless 22 eliminations, Rise 15, not so much. But the one thing that we've been saying a lot about this whole last year when it comes to PUBG Mobile Esports is that you can't have that one-star player. You have to have a team full of stars. And right now, one thing Puppeteer is lacking is someone else to rise to Dong's level and to help him frag out like this, I feel.
Absolutely. And this is reflected not so much in the elimination stats, because they are keeping fairly competitive, actually, with the rest of the top 3 teams, but in their placement stats. You know, an individual can boost those numbers up. He can have huge games. and really pump those elimination numbers up to be a fairly competitive rate. But the placement points are hurting. The team cohesion obviously isn't there yet. They have less than half of the placement point to elimination point ratio, and considerably less than their top 3 opponents. So that is indicative of not so much clean teamwork late game. They're not getting into the late games. They're not finishing out games as much as they should be to really be in that top 1 contention.
It could be maybe even a case of Puppeteers, like they're going too early. They're going too hard too early, whereas you can wait till later stage of the game, pick up a lot of eliminations as well off the back of the higher placement points, and obviously kind of carry their way through there. But I will say this though, seeing a team who can get the eliminations and low placements versus a team who can get high placements and low eliminations, I will always favor the team who can get the more eliminations and placements, because that's where you're really going to start to earn the points. I think I feel like, correct me if I'm wrong, I feel like it's easier to play towards get yourself learning how to play towards the late game than to be able to get eliminations early and not lose too many players and be able to get them cleanly. I feel like that's much more difficult to learn versus being able to play for placements.
You know, personally, I wouldn't be so sure at a statement either way. I think that a team, you know, if you think about it, a team that can regularly get themselves into those late game positions, the late game is when you have the highest elimination conversion possibilities. So if you just do slight tweaks, you can really boost your numbers up if you play slightly more aggressive in certain scenarios. But at the same time, as you said, I also really like seeing teams that get consistent eliminations throughout all stages of the games, which is clear, right? Because they have low placement points but high eliminations, which means they're going in there early, they're not afraid, and they're coming out on top very often. So both sides are really good. You know, it's to me, it's a very 50-50 thing, but you do have to find that balance, and they definitely need to boost up they're not getting enough eliminations to carry those placement points, right?
Right.
Yeah.
It's kind of like the opposite story for like Canadian Eagles, where the first 2 days they played for placements, they didn't get aggressive at all, and it was very lackluster. But then day 3, day 4, day 5, they started to pick up some eliminations, and their placements started to continue to carry on with them. But let's get an idea of where these teams do lay at the moment, because groups have shifted. Each week, all the groups will be shuffled, and we'll see where the groups are currently sitting, where the teams are sitting, in what groups for this week. I think YKG and Hyper, we're always going to be looking out to see if they're in the same group, but unfortunately this week it looks like it will not be meant to be, as you do have Skills of Mime, Ace of Spades, YKG, and BOPE all in that first group. I think one of the interesting ones for me, and I don't know why, is actually Group E. PASSIONFRUIT, Execute in the same group. I don't know, because I feel like those are the 2 teams that we're like expecting way more out of, but we haven't seen it happen just yet.
I mean, those are definitely the 2 teams that I'm most familiar with in terms of, you know, like players that used to play back in the day. There's still some names that I used to compete with. They should have that experience. They should have that grit. They should have an advantage, honestly. And I'm definitely not happy with either of their performances. I think it's still in the books. You know, experience does mean more mental resilience, which means I don't want to count them out. I think they can definitely bounce back and catch that momentum better than a less experienced team. And so, you know, let's see if they can pull that off.
Okay, what about in Hyper? I don't know if there's a lot you want to mention about them, because we've been talking so much about the addition of Koi to the roster and what they've been able to do. I feel like this isn't in Hyper at a completely different power level than we saw last season.
Yeah, and Hyper, I haven't loved their conversion. I think they get into the late games a fair amount of times, and the potential is there. They're definitely staying consistent enough to be in contention for firsts, and that's all you need to do. But I think they missed a couple win possibilities. You really do need to get those. If you want to get first place, you need to finish those games off. You can't be satisfied with getting all those top 3, top 5 placements. I think from the statistics that I can see, they need a higher conversion rate, in my opinion.
Well, you know what, Uneven, we're going to find out here. The teams have had a day off since last week. It's time to get into our very first match of the day. It's going to be Erangel. It's going to be brought to you by Hot Jukes and Zute. So take it away, boys.
Let's go! What's up, everybody? It's Hot Jukes here with Zute. It's so cool to see Uneven on the desk here, Zoo, right? It's been a long time since we got to see him play, but now he's on the desk with us. I mean, how do you feel about that, Zoo?
I mean, hey, come join the party a little bit late. You know, Jukes and I, we came over to the dark side. We went from playing the games to just critiquing the games because, hey, you know, if we can't get it done, just call it out. Just like, he should have done this, he should have done that. But I gotta agree with Uneven though, right? He was talking about in Hyper how, like, yeah, they get into the late game a lot, right? They make it to that position where I love one point he made was like the late games where you can convert the most amount of elimination points, right? You can get the most amount of knocks and get the point versus the early game where, you know, usually those locks are long range and they get revived. So if in Hyper were to, you know, play a little bit more, not even say aggressive, but just like lock it down a little bit more, they should be getting those wins, which equals getting those elimination points like Uneven pointed out. So maybe coming into week 2, you know, in Hyper, seeing as how, you know, they didn't even get second place. We thought they would definitely get at least second. I think they came in third, Jukes, correct me if I'm wrong.
Yes.
But coming into this week, they need to really like lock it down and be able to get that first or second place finish at the end of the week, at least improve, right?
100%, 100%. Got to be able to get those conversions. And I think sometimes, I will say for me, it's kind of like both ways because, yeah, there are some times where they should have converted. But I also think that in this season so far, we've seen them convert in times when I don't think they normally would have. And they're going to have to make some conversions right now with this first circle. Looks like we're going to deal with a nice Billy base one. That's going to be fun. But like I was saying, there are some times where in Hyper, you know, pushed outside of the circle, you know, left their comfort zone,
Yeah, that's true.
and got the win in certain situations. So for me, it's 50-50. I do like to see that improvement, you know, and hopefully we could see them be rock solid because, you know, at the end of the day, they are one of, you know, the NA hero squads that we have a lot of expectations on. So for anybody that's wondering, like, hey, why are you critiquing it Hyper instead of everybody else? It's because, you know, when it comes to squads, we feel that can actually compete at that global level, you know, and Hyper is one of them. So that's why we're going to be a little hard on them, YKG, teams like that, because in order to play at that level, it takes perfection, right? It takes perfection. I'm happy to see improvement, and hopefully we can see them reach that level here at the end of this fall split.
Gotta agree with that. Do you think, like, if they played more of their usual style in week 1, they would have done better? Because we did see them, you know, go out very early. I still remember that one Vikendi match. I was even saying, oh, one player knocked. They're definitely not going to go for the revive. There's no reason. You know, the game just started. And they went for it. They full sent it, and a whole squad got wiped.
I think 100%. I think 100% they would have had more consistent points on the board. The big issue now, because I always think that PMPL should be that one season where you're putting in work. And the great part is that if you really do well in during the league stage, you have more room to kind of play around with your points. You know what I'm saying? You can take riskier fights because you're not having to worry about qualifying or putting in crazy work, right? So I think this is the perfect stage for them to get that practice in. But here's the problem, though, Zute. We saw it at the top of the show. The PMGC points. Okay? So with the factor of the PMGC points being so massive, because again, guys, the team with the most PMGC points at the end of this are going to have an automatic invite there, right? So, and it's only one team. So as much as in Hyper, I do like to see them making those adjustments, being behind YKG in those points. At this point, I don't think they can afford it anymore. I think they need to do whatever it takes to put as many points on the board to try and get that slot.
That's tough, yeah. It's in Hyper in such a tough spot. They know their main weakness, but at the same time, they're so good at what they used to do that they can't risk losing that PMGC, you know, overall leaderboards position. And it'll be interesting to see what they do in week 2 and week 3. Week 1, we could clear cut say in Hyper, they're trying new stuff. They're trying to be more aggressive. We'll see if we'll still see shines of that coming into this week. And speaking about this week, you know, we're starting it off hot with that military base circle so far. A lot of teams have rotated into military base, but in Hyper, not one of them. I think they're just used to taking their time in regards to, you know, making that waterway crossing. They never take the bridge, so there's no rush for them. But so far, we see up to 5-6 teams onto the side of military base already.
Uh-oh, yeah, 412 realizing that he's completely separated. Oh, gets popped out of the vehicle by BULUC. chopped up off the sour, taking that easy elimination right there. And, you know, going back to what you said, I think when it comes to N-Hyper, I want to see exactly what you mentioned. I want to see raise of that aggression. You know what I'm saying? Little raise here or there. Because, you know, the full-fledged send, high risk at this point, it's just not worth it, I think, considering that you need to get those guaranteed PMGC points. But seeing just a little ray here and there, a little extra push where normally they wouldn't have, that's relatively safe. If they continue to do that, I think we're going to definitely see them improve as time goes on here. And, you know, going back to what you were mentioning when it comes to these rotations, look at this. You got YKG on the BOPE going on over there, just sending it nice and safe.
Yeah. So far, we haven't seen any botations ever really fail when it comes to the military base. I do feel like, you know, give it another year's time, and we're going to start seeing botations kind of be camped more hard. Right now, the bridges are almost like a death zone. It's like you can never be safe with the bridge crossing. And I think the botations are a little bit, you know, not taken advantage of. Like right here, well, YKG, we could see YKG. It's perfectly safe, but there is a team, 412 Nomads, at the compound where they're about to crest up on. Yeah, right here, if 412 had at least like a 3-1 split, just one person on top of that high rock position, you completely send all the botations way around to the other side of the map instead of them cresting here.
It's a good point. It's a good point. Yeah, you know what, 412, if they had that little heads up realization that, you know what, there's a chance that we get a botate in this direction. They camp it, wait, use that TPP peak, and the second they get too close, boom, they're out the water. And these boats, they blow up real quick. So that could definitely be something we see in the future. And it's kind of funny because we noticed that, right? The more like strategies change, the more we see teams develop, we also see counterplays come out. Right? A lot of teams now being more reliant on that botate because it is so safe. And eventually some teams going to be like, hey, you know what? That's YKG lands at Primorsk. They're the top team. We need to take them out. We have a melee circle. This is probably the easiest way we're going to do it. So let's go ahead and camp it out.
Some fighting down here on the south side of military base. Speedfire trying to make their breach onto the main island, but they are met immediately by BOPE. And BOPE looks like they're getting aggressive, but there's butterfly effect as well swinging in on the side. And this could be a three-way dance right now. BOPE trying to reposition now with that new info of there being a second, third team in the mix. And butterfly effect really laying it down. Speedfire catches a little bit, you know, of a breathing space with the presence of butterfly effect, but I don't think Speedfire is going to manage to leave this location anytime soon.
Nope. Looks like they're going to be holding it down for a good little minute here. As we watch Arevalo on the rotation, trying to go ahead and get something going. Meanwhile, BULUC CHABTAN already here in military base. I do like the fact that here in North America, we are seeing teams, when it comes to military circles, rotate 10 times faster than before. Because before, I think we would have seen, you know, maybe 4 squads, 3-4 here already. But now, look at this. I mean, almost half the lobby, if not more, is already locked down. And yep, with this circle shift, it is dead center on some military base. So the teams that are going to have a pretty tough time rotating in now at this point, one is Puppeteers. They're still over in Zarki. That is wild to see them still there. So doing a super, super late rotation. Going to eat a whole bunch of blue zone. Hopefully they're looted up enough to be able to eat all that. I was watching the Canadian Eagles soaring in their little penguin. Look at that, little penguin. Just sending it across nice and safely on the Novo side of things. So they should be able to reach land here. That's exactly what they're doing right now, and should be running into the zone any second now. Very, very nice. Yeah, Extreme Slayers, another squad that we want to see more from here. Extreme Slayers has been a team that we saw dominate early on in the past few days, but yesterday and the day before, kind of a little bit of a subpar performance comparatively. I mean, they did have that chicken dinner in the last game, the day before yesterday, but looks like Wall Street Bets are going to get into a little bit of action here between Ace of Spades. It's going to be on that right at the edge of this island here next to farm, and Ace of Spades are happy to get these points, and I can't blame them because you know what? Get these points now, because trying to get in this next circle is going to be tough. So to be able to kind of hedge your bets and put you some good placement points on will be pretty huge.
Yeah, and the other thing is, not a lot of teams know that the bridge isn't being camped this time around. We had one military zone last week, and there was so much bridge camping. It was like 2-3 teams getting caught on the bridge area, and it was just a no-go zone. This time around, I don't think we saw any bridge camping. Maybe one team sat out of the bridge for a little bit, but majority of all the teams that got anywhere close to the bridge just rotated across and went inside the zone. So I don't think these teams know that, who are still caught on the main island of Erangel.
Yeah, it looks like we're going to see Ace of Spades and Excuse. Look like they are going to go send it down that other bridge there. And most likely going to enter an engagement. Extreme Slayers do make it on in. Rather safe, so fortunate for them. Yeah, I mean, it's kind of interesting because before we saw a whole bunch of bridge camps. You just mentioned it earlier, right? And now bridges at this point pretty clear. I think teams have finally realized that, hey, you know what? Let's just get the zone, prioritize it first, and worry about that later. But meanwhile, Ace of Spades catching Excuse off guard as they both try to rotate down the same bridge at the same time.
Yeah, this isn't bridge camp. This is just a, oh man, we are both late, and so running into each other.
This traffic
fight does
jam.
break out. Oh,
Traffic
nice shots.
jam! Wow.
Oh, that M16 red dot long distance, it looks so steady in some players' hands, man. Of course, it's not easy to hit with the red dot long range, but if you can do it, it looks nice.
Blinky Bay getting caught out by Chronix, but
Oh,
man,
the
it's a
drive-by.
play zone!
Oh, they're
Make
gonna
sure
go
you
back
get the
and
thirst.
confirm it.
Okay, and they do, yeah. And the reason why I say that is, you know, with this blue zone chunking, sometimes you could just, you've done it before, right, Zoo? Where you go and you start shooting them down to like 1 HP and the blue zone ticks and actually finishes them off. Oh, that's brutal.
Yep, blue zone could steal your eliminations sometimes. Next zone did shift, by the way, so second circle shift, it went further down into military base. This third circle, you can even say it shifted a bit more south once again. We are at the heart of military base with a good majority of the zone outside of Millie base on the south side of the road. So this is going to be a really interesting game, Chooks.
It's going to be an interesting game. And the great part about this circle is that there's still so much cover everywhere. So
yes,
teams could definitely get into the zone safely if they do it the right way. You got to make sure that you're not blind rotating. Scout it out. You know, use those checkpoints little by little, and you should be able to get in this next zone. YKG, they are outside of this next circle on the edge, but I don't think they're worried about it. They understand that this is Millie. They have a lot of coverage. They should be able to rotate on in here with their vehicles. But, you know, we talked about bridge camps. Extreme Slayers got up in here for free, and they say, you know what? The price of potatoes just went up. It's going to be tough for these teams to get on in, but we got a nice battle between Super Laser Reflex and BULUC CHABTAN. Nice shot there for Poppy Sour.
Yeah, XTZ trying to rotate in and help out the squad, gets ripped out of his vehicle. BULUC CHABTAN with the man advantage now, and make that a twofer. Now they're up by 2 people. 4v2 situation is all about the nades now for Long. Can he get anything done? Gets shot up in the side. It's pretty much over. 4v1. BULUC CHABTAN with their aggression. Well done.
Very nicely done. It's really Illusion that did a lot of that work. Got that initial knock with that nade. And then that beautiful off angle. Super Laser Reflex just got picked apart, literally. They're going to go out in 16th. So still 15 teams remaining. That's some good points for BULUC CHABTAN. Much needed as the game continues here. And look at this. We're going to see Speedfire all the way down south next to MEZEXIS. So, and I believe MEZEXIS, they only have, it's just inactive. Last player up for their team.
Yeah, Speedfire has been stuck here for such a long time. They got here kind of early, but no vehicles, right, for them to grab. And with BOPE just sitting right in front of them, BOPE not moving anytime soon, Speedfire is just forced to continue to sit down there, maybe hope for the circle. And Inactive being there, you know, Inactive's playing spoiler. He's going to time his shots at the least expected time to maybe pick up 1 or 2 points, if not more.
You can still see in the blue, there's still Puppeteers and Wall Street Bets, but it looks like Puppeteers.
That looks messy.
Yeah, real messy, getting shredded. It's just Dog, the last player up next zone, does go on over to this bridge. So that's actually a huge circle shift for Extreme Slayers and in Hyper, YKG alike. As we see, that's going to be it for the Puppeteers. Completely finished out, trying to rotate into this next zone.
Yeah, such a deadly zone for some of these teams. YKG coming in. They've been on foot. They have not had a vehicle since they beached this area, and look how they're playing it. They were playing it really quiet early on. I don't know if he caught it, but Chico could have shot at some teams rotating away, but they didn't. They know without a vehicle, they need to be extra cautious and pick their timing just right. Fierce not winning that duel, but the aggression is on. They got the opening earlier, so they're going to take advantage of it. They know they need to do something, but BULUC,
Wow.
great offense and defense this time around. YKG, are they going to continue to press this with only 2? And it looks like the call has been made to hold it off.
The B-Zone. The B-Zone so deadly in the hands of BULUC CHABTAN, getting so many eliminations with that Bison. Meanwhile, you got Chico running on up, trying to get some revenge for his team. Using that smoke, he does make it to the building, but trying to make it anywhere past that's going to be pretty tough. BULUC CHABTAN, I do like the fact that they're prioritizing circle here. So they give up the elimination. They say, you know what? We can get a rotation on. We're most likely going to see them on their way in anyway. And, yep, here we go. They do catch Chico. Doesn't go for the pit maneuver instead. But let's just beat him later in game. BULUC CHABTAN already with a good, solid amount of eliminations. 7 in total. Uh-oh. Never mind, Poppy Sour. He wants some more.
Yeah, this is, they're not synergized whatsoever. The rest of BULUC went the other way. Pappy Sour on a solo mission to hunt down this team. He might have thought it was a 1v1, but Chico and 24K are here. Pappy Sour, can he make something work? He gets picked. He goes down. That is the clearest sign of the team not being on the same page I've seen yet. I mean, BULUC has been doing really well, like, so far into the game, so maybe Pappy Sour got a little too excited, and I can't blame him. I think the right play was to chase down that player. They know it's probably the hurt team of YKG, and they had the number advantage.
Yeah, a little bit of an non-committal
Indecision.
relationship. Yeah, and a lot of indecision from BULUC CHABTAN. You can see, Zendry, just by the way he's driving, they're just hunting down, trying to find a spot somewhere. He does pop out. He says, you know what, I'm going to go ahead and try to get this quick, easy elimination. And it looks like BOPE is going to take that from him too, so I'm surprised he didn't even get that finish. Really interesting play from BULUC CHABTAN. And you know what? It's not uncommon.
They're flustered.
They're so good in that early mid game. They did a great job, right? But then late game comes around and they panic. Like, they're like, oh, I'm gonna get the next circle, and you just see so much indecision. And 7 eliminations is great, but it would have been even better with the chicken dinner.
Yeah, that's one of those situations where the IGL really comes in handy. It's like, if you decide, IGL has the final say-so in things, it clears that up. It could be a double-edged sword, though, because IGL might make the wrong call, and then you find your whole team just in a tough spot.
I think you said it perfectly right there, right? If you decide that it's the right play. Regardless of whether the IGL makes a good or bad one, if the whole team doesn't support it, you'll never know. You'll never know if it was a good or a bad play. The whole team has to just say, IGL, you said this? All right, we're going. And if it's a bad play, then you can blame the IGL. But if those players don't listen and they go and say, nah, I don't like that push, I'm going to go this way, then it never mattered in the first place. And now look at this. BULUC CHABTAN getting picked apart by BOPE. That's got to hurt.
Yeah. BULUC could have done so much better. I mean, they only had 3 leaving that compound, but they were in such a good spot, and they were doing so well, and they get taken out. 7 elimination points still for BULUC CHABTAN. It could have gone a lot worse. It could have gone a lot better, of course, with the team being a little bit indecisive towards the end. But we'll see how they do the rest of the day. The zone did shift once again. It went up north into the heart of military base. Well, not the heart, more to the west side, so there's less cover in this area of military base, and in Hyper, of course, in a great position. Always see that. But there's another team, Extreme Slayers, on the high ground, looking down right here. Extreme Slayers trying to get that full reset. They just finished the fight. Look at a few more members, and they're up to 8 eliminations, Jukes.
8 eliminations, a beautiful push. That's how you commit, folks. Meanwhile, speaking of commitment, which team are you guys going to commit to? Who will win this next match? Personally, looking at how Extreme Slayers are playing, I cannot choose a different squad. Even though in Hyper have a great position, Extreme Slayers seem to be a little bit on a roll here. BOPE still up with 4 members. They are all the way down south, so they have to push in. So we'll see if they're able to keep all those players up during this rotation. Ace of Spades rocking a split here, trying to put some pressure on the N Hyper. The difficult part about where Ace of Spades is that that zone centers up or goes away from them at all. They're forced to run out in the open, and they're going to be in big trouble.
Yeah. There's a lot of fragmented cover, so they'll have to, choose their pathing extremely carefully. We'll see how they decide to do that. Jason and I going for the N Hyper Uneven, and Hotchuk's going for Extreme Slayers. Okay, I like that. I think it's like a 50-50 split.
I agree.
Right. It could
You
go
go either
either way. Definitely.
Uh-oh. Koi getting knocked by a bad girl, though. That's not going to be too good right there. Badger going and getting that knock is pretty huge for his squad. Meanwhile,
He's really far up, too.
yeah, he is. Bomba from the side gets pieced up a little bit. That hurts. Meanwhile, you do have... it looks like Hyper are going to go ahead and get that res. So GK first with a beautiful smoke is going to get that res. And you talked about that fragmented cover. It's so huge in this position. And because there's so much of it in this area, Hyper are going to have a lot more room to play with compared to some of these other squads.
4-on-2 Aleem here from NOMADS. Playing it nice and quiet. 0 elimination, so they're really banking on the fact Aleem can maybe snake into a couple more zones. Ace of Spades, you know, getting full control of the south side. At least they think so. Try and clear everything out. Aleem's got to be quiet and time his pushes and shots if he does decide to take any very carefully. Extreme Slayers, good control of the northwestern side. We'll see where the zone takes us, as that is going to be the big factor here. You can see GK first on that north, getting some more info, swinging up a little bit more to the western side, seeing if the team needs to make a rotation that way, just in case. And nope,
Wow.
straight down south.
Straight down south. It is an airfield finish right there. It's the airplane cemetery. Now, this does have a lot more cover than it did before, so there's definitely some positions that teams can play, some bowls, some dips. You can see Robert GG pushing up, straight up into one right now, and Hyper are forced to push down and are in a pretty rough spot here because Skills of Mind can definitely gatekeep them. If Hyper can reach those barrels, though, they should be able to use some utility on the way in.
It goes both ways, though. Skills of Mind will definitely throw some of that utility right back at Hyper. We'll see how Hyper decides to do this. I figure they're going to have someone try to do a little bit of an off angle, see if they can make something happen, but Koi is up here in the front lines. Only 40 shots left in his M4, and his backup is the DBS. So he's got to be careful with who he shoots at right there. And Skills of Mind using a smoke to get a little bit more aggressive, but Koi, with those 40 shots left, doesn't matter. He finds one already, and he's looking for more.
Yes, he is. Kindness gonna go for the run over on Bomba. That smoke completely eliminating the sight lines from Skills of Mind, and Hyper showing you how it's done. Skills of Mind played it way too passive. When you have the zone like that, it's time to get aggressive, and yeah, they finally do. They get a nade onto Koi. But yeah, here comes the drive up. This should be an easy push. Wow. Beautifully done here from Hyper.
I love how one of their teammates got knocked, but Hyper was still able to recognize we got a huge opportunity here. We should definitely push this. We could get a reset, and they could get a reset too, but that put Hyper at a way bigger disadvantage. So they went for the finish, then they went back for the res. And the aggression out of Hyper off of the first knock from Koi, that was so fast. We're usually used to seeing, you know, Hyper after opening knock, they take a little bit more time, find another angle, and then go for the head-on push. But no, they just went for it immediately after the knock. So this Hyper team definitely looking way more aggressive than we're used to.
Yes, not just more aggressive. I think the right word would be decisive, right?
Yes.
Just saying, you know what? Let's just go. No, oh, should we do this? Should we do that? The play is push. They pushed without any hesitation. And you know what? That's what the top teams in the world are doing. So it's a good thing to see. Hyper shows some really solid signs of that. Now, the team that I think they definitely have to worry about is going to be Extreme Slayers here on the west side of the map. BOPE did make it in with their entire squad, so you don't want to count them out as well. This next zone is going to be huge on which team is going to be favored, because if you look at Hyper, there's no coverage on the way in. They're going to have to drive up, and they're going to be in big trouble if the zone goes anywhere besides where they're at.
They're going to need a lot of smokes if they have them. Skills of Mine might have had a bunch that they could pick up. We'll see soon. Aleem still alive from 4-1-2 Nomad, so the only real thing he's going to look to do is spoiler onto Ace of Spades. So we'll keep an eye out on that. But we do have 3 teams, like you mentioned, 4 up. BOPE, Extreme Slayers, and Hyper. GK first snaps that one, can't get the confirmation. Taking some shots. Thinks he's over there. He can't see through the grass. Unfortunately for him, not hitting those shots to get the confirmation. But he might be able to just lead out there. And yeah, next zone, away from Hyper. We'll see what they do here.
That's brutal. That is brutal. Do they have the smokes? You see GK first has 5, and they do have a couple vehicles. So in worst case, they can kind of set up a little bit of a car wall. trying to make something happen here. As you can see, kindness.
Dang.
This is the desperation time. Like, try to get some points because trying to win this game is going to be tough.
I don't know how those players are still up a lead. Besides better.
Limb. Oh,
he's gonna go for it.
Goodbye.
And that's all squad out.
Ace of spades eliminated. A limb getting a bunch of limbs. Beautifully done right there from that off angle. And that opens up the door for Hyper to push.
Couldn't have been better timed right there. And Hyper, they should be able to make it in. That whole east side is clear. Boom! One of them gets locked. Extreme Slayer is making a play now. Supra might be able to get revived.
Did you see what they did? Extreme Slayer is so smart. They said, all right, we're going to send Robert up in the vehicle, and the rest of the squad's going to be staring at that broken wall. The second he drove up, he peeked to try to shoot at that buggy. Instant knock. That is how you push when you don't have cover.
Very well done. And they make it in. They make it in off that knock.
The bait play coming up so strong. So Robert GG is driving around. Uh-oh, you can see Hyper doing a long rotation towards the final Nomad. Yep, and they do catch him. So now they have this entire side of the circle to themselves. We thought this push was going to be so tough, but things just always working out for Hyper.
And that third party, Aleem, really helped them out there. But they taking advantage of it. Look how much space they're going for. That's a little bit risky potentially. They don't know how close other BOPE players are. But hey, this is an Hyper that is taking risks. And you'll never know unless if you take the risk. And Hyper gets an opening onto Philly and the confirmation. And Hyper down to 3, however. So they're going to be at a man disadvantage when it comes to facing off Extreme Slayers if it does get to those two teams at the very end.
Yeah, well, GK first is, who was on the other complete angle, and he got caught out by the Extreme Slayers. But they have 10 eliminations, top 3 finish. I think you got to be happy if you're a Hyper fan regardless.
They get
because guess what? 10 elimination points. YKG went out with 3. So when it comes to PMGC points, and Hyper closing that gap little by little by little.
Close this game out with the chicken dinner as well. They got the zone. It is close enough to Extreme Slayers zone. There's way more than enough cover for Extreme Slayers to get in relatively safely. Of course, the sidelines are going to be a little bit tricky with BOPE in the mix as well. So they're going to have to play this slow, methodically, really, poke things out, feel things out. Yeah, they're going to start marking specific sections, or not even sections, spots on the map that they think are the safest, because the sightlines from BOPE may be an issue here.
Oh, Kindness with some nice sprays through that smoke. Yep, he got a hit marker. He's going to keep spraying. Not able to get the confirmation, but and Hyper have a solid position. Oh, he caught a toe!
Oh!
And Supra instantly eliminated. So BOPE, due to their position, just forced to be so passive. And I think they got a little antsy, moved around a little too much, and then Hyper took advantage of it.
Yeah, and Eagle Eyes, and they don't miss.
Oh my gosh,
they don't miss. I haven't seen Hyper like miss a spray so far this whole tournament. They've been hitting every shot they've been taking.
Brady, 4-3.
And the finish.
Oh,
so
Fuego
close.
ate that one. And he's going to go ahead and try to get, if he has some heals off, he's going to use them. But this nade from Frady could be it. Let's see. Can he hit this one on time? It looks good. Got him.
Touchdown.
So there goes Frady. So now, Extreme Slayers versus Hyper. Look at Remix's angle.
Sheesh.
The wing. He's about to take flight. He is about to take flight. Koi is completely separated. And Remix has his eye. Remix cannot get knocked, though. Cannot get knocked from his position.
Oh, he's
got him. He's got his number.
Yeah. Boy,
He's looking for toes.
Down.
Oh,
yep.
he got him! Wow. I
Grab
like
the
how
bullet.
Remix, he went down. He went down in elevation so he can get, just see under that tire just a little bit. Pop that ankle off, and Koi down. Now Hyper down to 2 players. Extreme Slayers looking really good here.
Yeah, Extreme Slayer should be able to close this out pretty easily. Unless if Kindness can find some openings. Back to a 2v3 for Hyper. And no,
What a nade!
too good. Extreme Slayer's just 2 on point right now.
Rin does get that confirmation point at least, right? So that's going to be huge. But that was an eviction notice. Here comes another nade from Hayuya. Oh, a little bit too far off the mark, but this is Circle 9. Oh, the blue zone's closing. The
Yeah.
blue zone is going to close
It's
down
done.
into nothing. Hyper, nothing they can do in this situation.
and they're getting hailed in with nades right now. Blue zone closing in on their backs. Extreme Players got to get their guns out though, just in case. And Frady going for a crazy jump shot, going super aggressive. I mean, the timing of it worked. They pin Hyper even more into the back of the blue zone. Hyper, what are they gonna do? He's got the Groza. Oh, so many toe shots coming in here, Jukes.
Oh, that angle was disgusting. I think Frady trying to go for that highlight moment. Remember, guys, there's an extra prize pool for the best play that we see so far. And that almost cost him. Frady's in big trouble here. Meanwhile, the rest of Extreme Slayers playing behind. Frady's got that DBS. And Hyper are going to have to force it out in the open here in a second. But all it takes is one more knock. Oh, that nade.
Oh, the nades. There's still nades?
If that was a double nade, that would have been absolutely disgusting.
Oh, and Hyper are playing this so patiently. You could see they're not panicking whatsoever. They're taking their time. Any lesser team would have just pushed out, feeling the pressure. It could still go either way, Jukes.
It really can, especially how Kindness has been playing, dude. Kindness has been an absolute unit.
Oh
if
God,
only Extreme Slayers pushed. Oh,
the flashes.
It's a stun. It's a stun. Stun grenade comes out on a Frady. I think he's blind. Kindness looking for angles.
Oh!
No! The double headshot! Absolutely disgusting, and Hyper with the game! Wow! Oh boy! That's how you do it right there, folks. That is how you do it.
Dang. I can't even fault Extreme Slayers for that. I feel like Extreme Slayers played that really well. And Hyper just playing it even better.
It makes me question, what if they would have pushed up with Frady? What if they would have pushed up with Frady and just full sent it on them when they were completely down and out? Wow, but you know what? You give Hyper even a little bit room to breathe. You give them your hand,
crazy.
They gonna take your whole arm off right there.
That
15 eliminations, 2,800 damage, and I'll tell you what, it wouldn't have been possible without that man right there. Kindness, 9 eliminations by himself. Absolutely disgusting.
This guy is the MVP of Hyper, hands down. Man. And for him to pull off what he just did, the team, all I gotta say is the nerves of steel from both sides. I feel like both sides played that so well. It came down to like fractions of a second in timings, and ultimately Hyper and just pulled it out.
And Hyper's biggest struggle, I said for the longest time, is being able to clutch it. And I'll tell you what, that was clutch right there. Let's take it over to the highlights and see what Uneven and Jason have to say right after that.
That was a spicy way to start off our second phase here at PMPL NA. What a phenomenal finish out of Hyper and Extreme Slayers. Uneven, one thing we're going to just go straight into. Extreme Slayers, do you think they played that last part out correctly, right, wrong? What's your thoughts?
I mean, absolutely not. There's no scenario where you should be losing a 3 versus 1. Obviously, it was 3 versus 2, but they had that opening knock with utility and then proceeded to whiff all their follow-up utility, and there's no excuse for losing a 3v1 in that small of a circle. You have to take the ground, which, you know, they kind of was starting to do, but they weren't utilizing it correctly, and they just made a few mistakes, and HP hit some crazy shots to capitalize on it.
Yeah, well, let's take a look at the match rankings here, and we'll start to break that down a little bit further. Because one thing you did mention when we got towards, I'd say, like one of the final zones, maybe like zone 7, 8, you said it comes down to which team has to move first, or which team doesn't have to move as well. And in that case, it was kind of both teams really didn't need to move too much. But at the very end, you saw Hayuya and Remix on the wing of that plane. Hayuya goes in, he gets knocked right away by Kindness, and then who then turns onto Frady. Yeah. And then you see Remix, the last person left alive, come off the wing, and he was in a 1v2 with no real chance to win that. And one thing I love that Hot Chicks pointed out was you saw in Hyper, they were not chaotic. They looked like they had a plan. They played that so patiently, so cautiously, and it led them a win.
Yeah, when that blue zone is at that damage level that late in the game, whoever gets touched and has to move first is at a massive disadvantage. And Hyper just had that small little area that they could play on the side of their plane that made it so that they had the cover, while you know, Extreme Slayers didn't. And
Yeah.
one thing but Extreme Slayers still, you know, through that, they had the opportunity to take control of that and end the game even before it came down to a matter of zone luck, but you know, they messed that up. So.
Yeah, and we see YKG here, 3 points. BOPE getting themselves 10. You know, one thing that we can give credit to Extreme Slayers on was they were the only team to really bridge camp. Now, it wasn't that long, but they kept out Wall Street Bets, and then funny enough, one player on Wall Street Bets kept out 3 players of Puppeteers eventually from that one. But either way, it was a great game. You can see here, Puppeteers 0 points, unfortunately. Butterfly Flight getting themselves 0 as well. Just kind of going down the list, just, you know, 1, 3 points apiece. But this match, though, like the South Military Island, we saw so many teams rotate in so early, and Hyper being one of those. And there was even a situation where I think it was it Kindness or Koi who had like 20 bullets left, and if they didn't take that fight against Skills of Mine, they could have been at such a big detriment.
Yeah, when you rotate that fast to get into the zone, you sacrifice loot, but it paid off. They played that very well. They forced the fight exactly when they needed to re-up their materials, and they pulled it off. So very well played to end Hyper.
Yeah. Let's take a look at their player stats then, because Kindness, man, like, I know you looked at like, oh, only 9 eliminations, my personal best 11, but come on, 9 eliminations out of him, like, that was phenomenal, and I think it's really proven to be such a strong force on this team.
Yeah, I mean, this is I like the damage as well. You know, that you can't sleep on the damage statistics. It really does show how much utility you're getting out. Sometimes you can get a lot of elims and not a lot of damage, but here he's putting up both. He's receiving very little damage, which means he's, you know, he's mechanically outplaying, out-peaking, out-timing. He's playing very, very well.
One thing I do want to criticize, though, we noticed GK First, he kind of played to himself, which we saw. It's kind of reminiscent of like the old GK First. He kind of went towards like the north side, I'd say around like zone 6. He caught Remix, I think it was, and knocked him. Wasn't able to get the finish, and then he kind of rotated back. But then later on, he actually got caught and got finished off by Extreme Slayers. So he kind of put his team with 1 foot kind of in the grave, putting them 1 man down. But I'm curious, like, do you feel like you sometimes need to make that play? Is that him just like kind of feeling it in the situation, or is that just kind of an obvious mistake that he made?
It's a really hard balance to look for. You know, sometimes that off angle will turn into so many elimination points, control, and can win you the games. But also, the golden rule, keep 4 up alive. That's the most important thing in a late game, in my opinion. So it's a very hard balance of, if you think you can pull this off and it's going to secure you those eliminations or that win, then of course it's the play to do. But you have to have that map awareness, that spatial awareness. You have to know your angles.
Yeah.
You cannot get picked off and leave your team. Honestly, that should have sealed the deal for them. That would have been the biggest mistake and the biggest reason why they would have lost if Extreme Slayers had managed to pull it off. But he got bailed.
It's kind of similar to Koi, though, right? Because if you remember Koi, he went towards the south side. He went like across the concrete, whatever you want to call it, the concrete wall. And he drove up, not knowing exactly where BOPE was. And then he kind of set himself in a position that he could not regroup with his team ever again. And I'm assuming it's kind of a little bit of the same case that GK First did.
Yeah, it's a little bit more understandable because now they're a man down. You kind of want to look for that opportunity, kind of force things to try to make sure you can get the win. It's a little bit more desperate, but in a more desperate context. So I think it makes a little bit more sense than GK First's mistake. But yeah, still didn't quite work out for him.
Yeah, well, that's obviously just our first match of the day. We still have, obviously, 4 more left to go, if I can do my math correctly. And I believe we have Miramar coming up next, so that means Group D will be sitting out. I'm not going to ask you to do any predictions, because we already saw, you know, me and Zute. I got you, Zute. And Hyperpix was perfect. No, I was getting a little bit scared there. But Miramar, what are you looking for out of any of these teams in particular? Is there anything you're looking at of, like, something that's really going to stand out, or something like a key to success for any of these teams?
You know, Miramar is the map of team fighting and mechanical and those sick off angles that GK First was looking for. So I'm gonna look for some clean executions that we don't see too often, but I would really love to see that pop out in NA and, you know, level up their team fighting game on Miramar because it's so crucial.
Okay. Well, it is time to head into Miramar. So let's throw it back to our casters, Zute and Hot Jukes.
Welcome back, everyone. What an explosive ending to game number 1. I don't think there's a better way to start off the week.
Yep.
That was a nail biter between Hyper and Extreme Slayers and Jukes. Let me tell you one thing. I really love the fact, we have Uneven bringing him in. It's like a fresh pair of eyes. And something he said at the start of his segment right there, I really took note of. We were talking about Extreme Slayers versus Hyper. I closed out that fight saying, Extreme Slayers did pretty well. I can't really fault them. Uneven said different. Uneven was like, man, you cannot lose that. You cannot lose that 3v1, 3v2, right? Because they got the revive. And I think what it is honestly, Uneven, he's still fresh as a competitive player. And as a competitive player, if it's a 3v1, 3v2 for the chicken dinner, you do not lose that, right?
Yep.
Like, as a competitive mindset, you cannot lose those situations. And honestly, I think, me being a caster for so long, I've gotten lenient, especially since we're kind of, more so focused on the NA scene. With NA, it's like, I think we're cutting them too much slack. We got to be a little bit more harsh. Like Uneven, it's like 3v2 for chicken dinner. I don't care. You don't lose those. You're not supposed to lose those.
The question is, hey, what happens if they would have just pushed? You know what I'm saying? I think they played a little bit more passive in that situation, knowing it was against Hyper. And they just opened the door. And when Kindness, of course, is a monster the way he is able to make plays like the way he just did, it went the other way. So you can't give teams room to breathe in those situations. I think you are right. We are casting a day, so we do have a little bit of leniency for these squads. But at the end of the day, I mean, when you have that man advantage, I was talking about, I was like, there's no way Hyper wins this. Extreme Slayers, by all means, should have been able to close that out. But one little play, one little mistake is all it takes these days. And your team is done and dusted. But you know what? You talked, I heard the word execution, right? Want to see some good execution from Uneven at the start of this game. And speaking of execution, Execute's playing now. All right?
Yep.
So Execute is in the mix. There is no ice on these cliffs, so they should be fine. Hopefully they start off strong here today.
Is that going to be a thing? Are we going to keep bringing it up?
It's going to be a thing. Until they make up for it. It's a thing.
They got a knock. In the elimination feed onto 4-1-2. So that's all the way in the southeast of the zone. So we're still watching K19 here against, I believe it is. Oh, here's that knock. Oh, it might be a double pointer here. Is that player
on the monster truck?
Knocked on a monster truck? Oh, no. Okay.
Oh, he's just lit up. Okay.
Yeah, I was confused too. Yeah, the
wait,
health bar.
No,
wait, no. He is.
He is knocked.
Wait.
Are they driving him away? No way. What's happening?
That wait, did he pick him up? Is that a new feature? You can pick up a knocked teammate and put him in the car?
And drive away?
Surely not.
Oh,
surely not.
If that is the case,
stay on
that
this
is
man.
wild. Yeah, stay on him. I want to see what happens here.
We need to figure this out. This is a PUBG Mobile mystery. Okay.
Okay.
So that's a player driving.
Oh
my God! He was just knocked on the car the whole time.
If that isn't is there a prize pool for save of the tournament? I remember at PMWI there was the revive of the tournament, Jason's favorite segment. And
That was wild.
And I'll tell you what, that is a revive of the tournament. That might be one of the most sick moments I've seen. What a save!
That's crazy. And he must have known that he didn't have time to revive him either, and he just went for the car pickup drive off, which is even more wild in my mind. It's like anybody else would have went for the revive, and then they hear, the other team pushing up, but he just jetted out of there and he's like, trust me.
Monster truck, trust me.
Just trust me.
I'm
getting you out of this.
Oh my goodness. The doctor. That was insane. That's so crazy to see. I've never seen that rotate. I've never seen a save like that in my entire PUBG Mobile career. Never.
That was the first. Yep.
Wow. So, what do you do if you're Execute? Like, what are you thinking? Like, you know what I'm saying? Like, how?
I mean, in their heads, they're just thinking, oh, he got the revive and drove off. Right? Like,
right? Yeah, 100%. I can't wait for them to see that back. Execute's luck. Just not having it right now. Not having it. So an easy point, or it should have been an easy point, completely gone, just like that. Well, let's see how they handle the rest of this match. We do have another Southern Miramar zone. We've been seeing a lot of these so far. BULUC CHABTAN in the middle of the map, and you got YKG over by Monte Nuevo. So far, so good. Nothing too crazy. We're still in that looting phase. But goodness gracious, this is how we're going to start off this week, Zoo?
Hey, can't be any better, in my opinion. Two amazing moments of different calibers, for the lack of a better word. First, we have an insane finish inning, the Extreme Slayers and in Hyper. And then we got an insane save at the beginning of the very next match, driving off in that monster truck. And this K19 fight in Wall Street Bets is still going on. You can see HH has decided to off-angle all the way in the far back. That's how long this fight has been going on, Jukes. HH has had the time to circle to no man's land.
Those are hard shots to hit too, because I mean, Wall Street Bets have to really give up their backs in order to do it. So he's going to rely on the rest of his team to get the job done and up close. Slimmy's up. The Slim Bot is here. I said I wanted to see him, but was that HA? No, it wasn't. That was actually Skur through the window, catching him slipping there. So where is the rest of the Wall Street Bets? Are they going to come and support their team? Ji-Woon's looking to make the push. 40 does as well. Nice shots there to HH. Wow, that's going to completely eliminate that sight line. But HH does get his helmet shot up, but he gets the shot right there. I thought Ji-Woon was going to make it to the wall. He does it, and then now K19 with the flush. Beautifully done right there. I do like the play from Wall Street Bets. I just think they played a little bit too separate in that fight. Yeah. If they would have sent it 3-1, I think they would have had it. Yeah,
3-1 at least mirror the numbers, right? Having it a 2-2, K19 just going to 3v2 your two-man. And I think, if they adapted a little bit better, Wall Street Bets, and read the situation correctly, the 3-1 would have been way better. And I think they knew, too, because HH already fired off some shots there, which is what lit up one of the members in the very beginning, at the very first couple frames of that fight. So, I mean, what can you do, right? You just got to think faster, react faster. K19 will take that fight. It took a while, but they pick up a clean 4 points, not losing a single player.
Beautifully done, beautifully executed right there. Meanwhile, we're going to watch Skills of Mind looking to see if they can catch some of these K19 stragglers out as they are taking that hill. We did see HH 2-4 on just a little bit earlier. Moving on over to the zone. Look at this, LOTUS with the ultra safe rotation on the west side. Love to see those. And where are we going to go in this circle, Zoo? We're going to get another Los Leones finish? Maybe a Minas del Valle? Maybe that bridge all the way down south?
Again?
Center.
It's always here.
Yeah, we've been dealing with a lot. I was about to say, we've been dealing with a lot of circles here at this zone, so teams should be pretty well versed with this area by now, that's for sure.
Yeah, it's been southern circles constantly, and we're getting another one. This one, a little bit west of Los Leones. I could still go back that way. We'll see. Personally, for me, I want to see the circle keep going west. Take it somewhere new, take it somewhere different. And in Hyper, by the way, center zone. Big surprise. Not really.
Not really indeed. In Hyper center zone, just big chillin'. Execute right below them. YKG gonna come on that edge side. Looking to get into it with Mazexis. Maybe this could be a game for Mazexis. Maybe this could be a good game for PASSIONFRUIT, because I'm looking at the roster, Zute, and Lil 6, nowhere to be found.
Okay, well, let's not jump to conclusions, but I'm pretty sure everyone's jumping to conclusions. I'll leave it at that. You didn't hear from me, Jukes.
Didn't hear it from me. That's crazy, because he did have a solid day. What was it, day before last, right? We saw him have a pretty good pop-off day, but then, of course, the day before yesterday, or the last day we played, did not have the performance we were looking to see. So PASSIONFRUIT mixing up the roster once again, trying to see what works best. I don't know. We'll see what happened. Did Sixless Did Sixless get bored? That's going to be the question that's on my mind. I'll have to ask him.
Well, I'm happy to just see Valak playing. I feel like Valak has potential.
True, me too.
And hopefully he starts turning things around right now as a player. Because the thing is, with Sixless on the team, I'm pretty sure Sixless is IGLing, micromanaging. And I'm only saying that because he's actually so good at it. If you ever tuned into his streams a while ago, he can micromanage and put players in position so quickly while still, you know, having to play the game himself. So with Sixless not in the picture, I'm not sure who's, you know, calling the shots now, but Valak, he's a pretty smart player. Maybe it's going to be more of a team effort, and we'll see better cohesion and synergy out of Passionfruit in that situation. So
let's see. We saw the last time they swapped the player, they did really good. So maybe they're just trying to repeat some of that magic. Meanwhile, we got YKG rocking a 3-1 split, 24K on the off angle, Skyline on the off angle for Mazexis. Very similar strategies coming into this fight. YKG looking to press the action. They are going to get pieced up by Mazexis on the way in. Oh, we're going to look at the map.
it's the map.
It's the map, baby. Look at the map.
And
Oh,
I think 2 of
did that
YKG
member-
just went down.
And they're gone.
Oh. Mazexis
Oh, we
looking
saw
on
it.
point.
Mazexis looking real good there. Real good.
And
So,
Hyper also looking real good right there.
again, because they just crushed it in points. YKG goes down early. The door's open, right?
Yeah, that's huge. PMGC points, by the way. ladies
PMGC
and gentlemen.
points.
That's what we're
Yeah.
talking about. The points do just, you know, add up in the overalls PMGCs. If you guys missed it earlier, you can rewind. But essentially coming into today, YKG took the lead just by a little bit over NHyper. And now NHyper, they're making that comeback. And after game 1, do you think, did NHyper repass up YKG?
Oh, I don't know. We'll have to see at the end of the
Yeah,
day.
it's close. It's close.
It is. Yeah, it's
We'll leave
really
it at that.
close.
It's really close between NHyper and YKG. And YKG going down, like you just said, and NHyper getting that zone right there in the center. That's another huge opportunity for them to pad their points just a little bit more.
More points on the board gonna happen most likely, especially with them being center zone, just big chilling, and especially coming off of a win like the way they did. Kindness is on fire, and we call it, you know, we call it the zone, right? Sometimes we see some of these esports players, athletes, they get in the zone and then they just cannot be stopped. So I wonder if Kindness is gonna continue with that, because there's some days where we all have it, right? Where we just can't miss shots, we just can't miss. And Kindness, man. It looks like it's one of those days for him, especially after that game 1. But meanwhile, Extreme Slayers, they're pissed. They're saying, we lost that last match. We're not going to lose again. It's a 4v3 situation. They're not losing this one.
Yeah, Remix from downtown, from somewhere where that mini catches the knock. And look how fast Extreme Slayers are pushing right now. They are upset that they threw that last game, and they are back with a vengeance. Excuse being the unfortunate casualties in their rampage path. And man, Extreme Slayers looking so good. I love how when Extreme Slayers get aggressive, it's not just a head-on mindless aggression either. You can see the players positioning up one after another, pinching them in, and just slowly choking them out. But 4-1-2 from somewhere catches Remix. Oh, that's way up in the high ground. But that's okay. Remix should be able to get revived. And they've already heard Excuse to a point where Excuse can't do anything but lay down.
The problem is that might not be good because they're smoked out, and with that knock, 4-1-2 could come on and third party this. So
I don't think 4-1-2 will do that.
They got to be careful. Hey,
could.
Stop being lenient.
No, yeah, I mean, they should,
Stop
but it's
being lenient.
4-1-2. It's 4-1-2. I'm saying if it was NHyper, I'd be like, oh, they should maybe get aggressive. But 4-1-2, I just don't think, you know, as a newer team, that's in their playbook.
Well, they should do it. They should do it. Right? And hopefully we start seeing teams make plays, you know, above what their pay grade is for them, at least we've seen. Because at the end of the day, and even said it best, right? The disparity between bigger tournaments versus, ones like this is the quality of mid-pack teams, right? The more, fierce competition we have around that mid-pack, the better this lobby's going to get as a whole. So hopefully we see it going.
I love that you bring that up to just really, tell the audience like what we mean by that is like, okay, YKG right now, we're praising them. They're so good, etc. YKG at the higher tier, like global stage, not even mid, maybe below mid. most likely, right? That's how far the competition ramps up in the later stages. So you got to start playing above your pay grade, like you said, right now, and keep pushing yourselves and keep trying to get better.
That's right. By the way, I did say disparity. That's a combination of disparity and energy. You know, you gotta have both. You gotta have both. Totally not a slip up for me. Meanwhile, we look at 412, looking to get a nade off onto Execute. Execute, unable to finish that last elimination. And now having to make some plays here, but PASSIONFRUIT getting caught out by LOTUS. Huacho going down. BULUC trying to make a play. Fetty's on fire, but it's not going to matter. It's just BULUC up left. BULUC, it's time. It's your time to shine, baby. Time to make a play.
Make a play. Now's the time. I don't think he knows one of the LOTUS players was knocked either, so he's just going to continue to keep sitting there. I mean, what can you do? 1v3, 1v4? He's scared. He's just hiding.
He's just a little BULUC. Come on, BULUC. He's like, man, I haven't been playing in a minute. Now I'm back. Now I got to deal with this 1v crazy play. Fetty's trying to see if the bank was open. It is not. And BULUC just hiding in a corner with a dream in FPP, waiting to make a play.
Yeah. Maybe he's hoping for the other team to push, and then he just somehow, you know, third parties both. But either way,
he needs to channel his inner kindness right now. That's what he needs.
What would kindness do? Hashtag what would kindness do? He would just 1v4 the team.
Yes, he would.
Oh, here it comes.
Oh, Fetty got Fetty. He fell for the trap. BULUC going for the quick thirst. Did he get it? Oh my gosh,
he got the second one.
Get the thirst. He gets him. He tried to go for another, but hey, at least he got 1 point. Beautifully done. As PASSIONFRUIT steal another. I mean, heck, what more could you ask for in that kind of situation, right?
Yeah. That was
Oh,
good.
Speedfire. I like this for Speedfire. I like their realization here, saying that was a no hesitation push. Now they gotta watch out for this nade. That nade does look pretty good. Oh, but it is a little bit undercooked. Goes on for a little bit too long. Speedfire looking to clamp the vice and get this finish.
Yeah, they're slowing down their push though. Those nades definitely, you know, causing them to hesitate a little bit, but the other team gets the revive and a good nade by RVLO. Catches one player. They're looking to close this out now. They gotta be careful of the angles because there's third-party angles from uphill. And nade answers right back. Speedfire has one of their players knocked now.
Gara trying to make a play in FPP. He's got the UMP. Up 45. Gonna have to make some angles. Ugh, he doesn't like it. Yeah, this is a really tough play. He might crest this window hearing those shots from Clown, but that smoke is gonna make things a little bit more difficult. And the more oh no, that's a beautiful Molotov. Did he get it off? He did.
I think he threw it a little too deep.
Wow. If he only would have hit that corner, it would have been on the money. Oh, that's a good one.
That's a good one.
Just too late now. Wow. That's tough.
Oh, he had the right idea. Hesitated though. Just hesitated. Yeah. In those situations, just chuck it all.
That's right. Throw it all.
Your team got a knock. It's intense. You gotta finish this fight. You have to win this fight. Just throw everything you got.
Especially since you want to save that utility to the end game, but you know, since it's so early, you know, they're gonna probably have a lot of loot still in there.
Exactly.
In their bags, so you can just loot it off of them. Nades. Now we're starting to see that utility. Look at that little curveball we saw there from Gara. Went on out. And right now, wait. Is that BULUC CHABTAN here?
Yeah, it's a three-way dance if you didn't notice.
Yeah, BULUC CHABTAN now in that corner have been just kind of silent, but now they're popping on out. Putting some shots down range, and Speedfire just opting to just sit and wait. And they can afford to because this is Circle 5. They still have 2 minutes, but the longer they wait, the more time that they're really just losing on trying to get a rotation on this next zone.
I mean, I think all the teams here are just trying to finish a fight somehow, some way. There's so many things to consider now if you're pushing. Like, if you get an opening, you push, you might get third-partied. Vice versa. BULUC, one of their players gets knocked. Luckily for Pappy Sour, he can maybe get... Nope, does not get revived. LOTUS confirms that one. And now we're down to 1v3v2 here.
The toes.
And Hyper also potentially about to get into fight on the south side. That's a fight I'd love to keep an eye on as well of the circle.
Let's see what will end up being the finishing play here. Is LOTUS going out on a tear. Meanwhile, BOPE, they're still alive. You got Extreme Slayers, Dead Center. MEZEXIS having a great game with 9 eliminations so far.
Yeah, they're killing it right now.
Do you think they will have the most eliminations by the end of this match?
Potentially. I'm gonna bet with Extreme Slayers though, because they're playing this match with a vengeance. They're mad that they lost the last one when they should have won it. So maybe they'll look to make it up through the means of getting extra elimination points. But MEZEXIS is looking really strong on the high ground here. They do have Hyper in front of them as they're picking up more points. Alim taken out on the side of 412 Nomads.
Beautifully done here. Now we see Crow trying to get some shots on the board. This is all the way to the south side of the map right now. You can see there in that mini map on the top right corner. 18 seconds are left on the clock. 412 is in a great position to gatekeep. Now the battle finally comes out, and it looks like LOTUS getting the better of Speedfire in this situation. Even though they were down members, just getting it done with that UMP.
Yeah, really good job by LOTUS. They were the team that was sandwiched between both BULUC and Speedfire. So for them to pull that one off could not have been easy. The predictions are in. Jason Kaplan, the only one going for the MEZEXIS squad. And hey, Jason got it right the first time. Maybe might get this one right as well. I mean, MEZEXIS is up to 10.
Whoa, make it 11.
Make that 11.
Wow.
So I don't know. Extreme Slayers, unless they get hyper aggressive, MEZEXIS is looking in the running right now to take it all.
We're putting a very, very bold bet right here because the MEZEXIS are crushing it. Almost a dozen eliminations. They have this side of the zone. They are showing us something. And you know what the funny thing is? They always seem to show us in Miramar, but kill switch to say, hey, where are you going?
Oh.
I got that M249, gets 2 knock, gets a thirst and a knock onto an active. That's execute eliminated, but that does cripple MEZEXIS' rotation here.
It does. MEZEXIS picks up one more point off of that, but it's just down to 3. Time is running short. They still have to fight their way in because the zone ahead of them is being gate kept. MEZEXIS could end up losing another one. This is going to be a tough entry for them. Well, actually, are they in the zone just slightly on? No, they are not. They do got to move downhill a little bit further.
I'll tell you what, though, even if they go out right now, Jason's pay might just be safe because 12 eliminations is a whole bunch right there. That's a whole dozen. And so they have definitely done their job for the match, but they need a lot of points. We talked about it, right? Like, even for PMGC points, where they need, like, 200?
Yeah.
So they need to do this every single game. Like, every single game and win.
That's a tough task.
Tough task indeed. And some would say impossible.
We'll see. And Hyper picking up some points now. Playing outside of the
Lord.
zone.
Baker's dozen.
Dang. MEZEXIS manages to find a way in. And they keep all 3 up. I mean, next zone, they're going to have to cross a road most likely. And that's good that they keep 3 up because they're going to need the manpower to make that kind of push. And Hyper coming down from outside the circle in as well. And in Hyper just down. Oh, in Hyper only with 3 as well. Extreme Slayers with 4. So K19 Ace and BOPE also with 4. As BOPE trying to take out this MEZEXIS squad. One is knocked. This should be a clean finish. But Philia, he's out here on his own. The rest of the team not coming to help.
All on his lonesome, and the play zone's going to do the damage right there, getting that knock. MEZEXIS going for the rest. Fuego might have a good nade here. Can he get it on point? It looks pretty good. And doesn't decide to throw it after all. It looked like he did, but he did not. Instead, taking some nice little shots there onto MEZEXIS. MEZEXIS about to make that push across the street. This next zone does pop. Not a lot of coverage in the center of circle. That's why we see so many teams playing on the edge right now. And MEZEXIS are just trying to make the best out of a bad situation. And they definitely have as many eliminations they got.
Yeah, they're up to 13 now. They're just getting fed these points. MEZEXIS is not being stopped here. And you're absolutely right earlier about MEZEXIS and showing up on Miramar. This team is just, for whatever reason, godsend on Miramar.
They just show up, man. They show up. Extreme Slayers does get the zone here. They would need to take out majority of the lobby if they want to catch up to MEZEXIS' points. They have 13, and it looks like they're not done yet, especially here with how they're playing.
Nope.
They're starting to get into the zone here with some nice nades onto Fuego, but trying to get across this road's going to be tough.
Oh,
That's
they
how
get
you
it.
do it, though, with a beautiful nade from Baton. Instant push.
Yeah, the smokes aren't down yet for him to cross, so he's got to wait for those smokes and then run over. I don't know if he's got the vehicle or
Wow.
not. Skyline goes down with the fire, and oh, the crossfire from all sides. Both Mazexis player gets knocked as they make that push over.
But that was the play. They had really no other option. They had to do something. So they got the knock. They did full send it. It didn't work out. But you know what? Sometimes the way the game goes, when you don't have a zone like that, there ain't much you can do. But they definitely did the job, right? 14 eliminations. They're sitting pretty. Meanwhile, K19, they're forced to push on down. And they make a couple players sacrifice. Make it 3. I think there's only 1 player up left for them. K19 just getting shredded on the way in.
Yeah, Ace of Spades about to get shredded as well. Extreme Slayers all looking their way. Trip running in the open, just doing what he can. Ace of Spades, yep. Just driving right on by. And Ace of Spades getting safe. They stay alive for now with 4. A little bit separated, however. Extreme Slayers looking to pick up all the players they can.
Wow, Remix picking up some points. That's 7. Uh-oh. Mazexis, I think, had 14, though, at the end of the match. That is absolute insanity. So I think
Actually,
Extreme
15.
Slayers. The 15, was it? Or does that include placement points? I'm not sure.
Oh, you're right.
We'll have to
Might
see.
be the placement point.
We'll have to see, though. Let's see, because Extreme Slayers, they have the zone, but they cannot lose in a single elimination here, I think, if they want to actually end up with the most. Regardless, this is a great back-to-back performance from Extreme Slayers. Yeah, they lost the last match, but they still put up some good points, and it looks like they're going to do the same thing here in this one.
Yeah, Extreme Slayers showing that with the zone, without the zone, they'll make it to the late game. They'll pick up the elimination points. There's another one, up to 8. Ace of Spades still have 4 up. So there is a world where Extreme Slayers could lose this, especially with Nighthawks here coming on the backside. If he knocks 1, that's going to be a huge spoiler for Ace of Spades to play off of.
Oh, Remix, though, taking away that spoiler with a beautiful nade and a couple shots. Does have to go up just a little bit. And that's
Remix
9
is so
eliminations.
good with the mini, by the way. We've seen him he's been using the mini since the first week, and he has been so accurate.
I love to see just how insane the mini has been lately. It is crazy. It is crazy how good it is. Though, with 9 eliminations so far, impossible for Extreme Slayers to pass up Mazexis in elimination points. So, Jason Kaplan, right back to back once again. But can we at least be right on Extreme Slayers getting a chicken dinner? Or will they falter like they did in the last match? They have the high ground. Ace of Spades have the angles, though. They have the sight lines. Remix, though, up on top of the roof is dangerous.
Shoot,
Both for Ace and for himself. If he gets caught out by that off angle, that's going to be critical for Extreme Slayers.
Yeah, Remix always putting himself in the most peculiar positions, and you need the best player on your team to be in these type of positions because it's not the easiest to play. Sure, it might look really strong, but like you mentioned, one small misstep, that player is gone.
Speaking of gone, there goes the off angle from Ace. He said group up with the team. Beautiful shots. Oh, and Remix gets caught from the side from ILY. And now it's an even fight, 3v3. Remix is on the roof. He's going to have to crawl on down. I think Ace of Spades need to push.
Oh,
Look, that nade looked good. Wow. I think he got megged right there. It went right through his legs.
Yeah, that was a close one. Both teams coming to a stalemate because both sides are going for that revive. So they'll get those revives, except Extreme Slayers. Robert's trying to make a play. This could go really poorly for Robert, though, if he gets caught out. He is kind of in the open, might get spotted out, and if he does, that is going to be an easy advantage for Ace of Spades. Can they see Robert? I feel like Robert's elevation isn't good enough to be covered. No, he's still good. No, he does get caught. And that is a huge disadvantage. Remix doing the same thing on the other side. Hey, if it doesn't work once, it might work the second time. Does ILY? Is he aware enough of this counter flank?
What was the definition of insanity, right?
Yeah.
Well, let's see if this is an insane decision from Remix. Uh-oh.
Oh.
ILY catches Brady, but he has the angle. Remix stands up. Oh! Catches one. Wow, almost got shot up right there in the return. Got to stand up, make another play. Oh, too many shots coming in from the angles. Remix goes down. Where's the rest of the team? Hayuya, not there in time. Extreme Slayers dropping the ball once again. I can't wait to hear what Uneven has to say about this one as Ace of Spades put the nail in the coffin with that grenade right there. Back-to-back second place finishes for Extreme Slayers.
That off angle was way too greedy by that first initial player that got knocked. Way too greedy. Unnecessary, right? It's a 4v4. Zone's closing to nothing. You never want to give a team an advantage in that situation. You just play back, you know, play together as a team. But Ace of Spades, they did a great job that game. Only 6 eliminations though, but they put up a lot of damage.
Well, they did win a nice fight against Extreme Slayers. That wasn't an easy fought one, but I do agree that it was due to greediness, right, from them. The reason why they lost it. I think Extreme Slayers lost that match more than, you know, Ace of Spades won it. So inactive though, MEZEXIS, we didn't talk about them, right? What a game! Crazy eliminations from them.
Yeah, this MEZEXIS team, if we had like just more Miramar maps, they definitely be higher up on those leaderboards. But yeah, MEZEXIS,
Wow.
I want to see this performance all across the maps, every game. Because this MEZEXIS team, you know, I love the way they play. They play very well together when they're on point.
Especially on Miramar. Guys, we got some highlights coming up right now. Don't go anywhere. We'll be right back.
And Ace of Spades take the victory on the brink of defeat, taking out Extreme Slayers in quite a awesome fashion, getting themselves a victory. Wasn't quite the 30-point game they had last week, but it's still a good game nonetheless, showing they can repeat their performances of before. But before we can even dive into our match rankings, got to bring up once again here on Even, that Monster Energy is our official energy drink partner here at PMPL. You can unleash the beast. And you know what? If you ever get to a LAN event with me, I'm going to pour Monster on your head. Is that a deal?
You know, I'll take it.
I really hope Seven watches this back and he's like, why did you just agree to that? You could just said no. Nothing would have
I just want to
happened
go to
from that.
LAN. I just want to go to LAN. So.
That's a good point. That's a good
If
point.
that's the price I have to pay, that's what it is.
We can make it happen. I think we can make it happen. But let's see the match rankings here from this last one, because we have a lot to talk about, whether it was MEZEXIS putting up 14 eliminations or whether it was Speedfire crashing on Lotus after BULUC gets 2 knocks and 1 confirm, and then BULUC CHABTAN comes up. That was a whole mess of a fight, but we don't need to touch on that just yet.
Yeah, I mean, this is a very great game for MEZEXIS here. You see 1 placement point. They really didn't crack into that late game at all, but still managed to pump huge elimination points. That's just a really impressive macro right there. Really clean aggression. And they just kind of got unlucky. You know, sometimes in Miramar, the terrain is very difficult to work around, but they pumped their numbers as far as they could, and then they had a really hard entry into zone. They got eliminated early, but this is still a great game. This is one of those games that you love to see this.
And the fact is, as well, inactive, we didn't see him at all in the first week, and we see him playing 2 matches for them now. He's actually the highest on their team with elims in this week. Obviously, he's got 6, so a good job by him to really step up. As we take a look at the second page here, and YKG unfortunately getting 0. PASSIONFRUIT only getting the 1 off the back of BULUC. MEZEXIS, we still have yet to see today. Whether or not he comes back, we don't know. The PASSIONFRUIT definitely need to, I don't know, like get back to their form they had in the last 3 days, last 2 days, where they definitely started to step up. But Execute as well, man, we haven't even touched on Execute. This team has just not really, well, I mean, I think this was the first game of the day, but again, 1 point. Like, I want to see more of this team. I have higher expectations out of this team than 1 point a game.
Yeah, I mean, this is exactly what I was talking about at the start of the day, right? They're in 6th place. You shouldn't be seeing this many low point games. It's gonna happen, right? YKG, it happens sometimes. Even though they're the top teams in the lobby right now, you're gonna get some bad placements. You know, there's a lot of uncontrollable factors, but Execute have far too many for my taste. This is just yet another one, right?
I was saying bring back Zute and Execute, and who knows, maybe they can pop off again, but I don't know, okay, Zute can keep up anymore these days. Maybe that's why he's a caster, and I can't really talk any smack because I would get bodied by any one of these players. But let's take a look at Extreme Slayers up against Mazexis here in this last match, and a quick little cheeky head-to-head to see their stats between the two teams. Obviously, Mazexis should have more damage, should have more eliminations, but the fact is that Extreme Slayers is that close on damage with having 5 less eliminations is a testament to how much work Extreme Slayers were actually doing.
Yeah, it's extremely common for those kinds of positions, right? When you're in that center the whole entire game, they got all the shifts. They're in a bit of a low ground. You can put out a lot of damage to the teams that are on the edge on these higher ground positions, but you can even get maybe a lot of knocks. But it's very hard to convert kills. You know, those are a very common problem with center focused teams.
Yeah, and they had the zone for such a long time. Actually, funny enough, that's why you picked Extreme Slayers in your prediction, right? You thought it was who's going to win the game, not who gets the most eliminations, and you were close, man. You were extremely close. Let's take a look at Mazexis player stats, because we got to talk about this team. This is one of the 3 teams we feel like that have that chance to break through into our PMGC points, but it's going to take a lot more out of this team and a lot less out of an Hyper and YKG. But Inactive, man, 756 damage, 5 eliminations. They look confident. Like, they were taking fights and they were clean until obviously the final one.
Yeah, I mean, I can't give them any fault in that game. You know, that rotation was very difficult, and that huge elimination count to me is very impressive. That makes, you know, that shows me that they're a very good team that can be in contention, right? If that zone had went in their favor, they would have had a huge game. They would have made a lot of points. I also like to point out that they've got a very, you know, consistent damage and eliminations across the team. Everyone's participating, everyone's chipping in. I like seeing that as well.
Yeah, just as we said before, you can't have that 1 star on the team anymore. You got to have a star-studded team to make things work. But thinking back to while we have a second, the Speedfire, LOTUS, BULUC, CHABTAN, PASSIONFRUIT mess. I don't know what you want to call it, but that was very awkward.
Extremely awkward. I mean, there was too many things to talk about what I don't want to see in a professional lobby. I needed that pace. Initially, it started off really nicely, right? They saw that there was two knocks in a kill feed. They had a really nice opportunity to third party. They start the execution, and then suddenly they stop. They slow down to a halt, and they just give out all their advantages. They let another team come in.
Well, you know what? We can't slow down in either uneven. We're going to have to cut you off, unfortunately, as the next match is ready to go. It's Sanhok, and it's Zute and Hot Jukes once again.
Time to pick up the pace. It's time to pick up the pace here, baby. We're going into Sanhok. Let's get it going here. Okay, so, you know, I heard Uneven talking about, you know, the awkwardness of that fight, you know, and that's tough, especially when, you know, you're fighting for a position where there's not a lot of coverage left and there's so many teams on one heavy side of the zone.
Yep.
But, you know, I think the awkwardness really comes from, you know, just the underdevelopment from these teams. You know, we see a lot of more indecision from these squads. Do we push? Do we hold? What do we do? And I think that is why we see so much of that happen, especially with teams like that.
Yeah. We see the top tier teams and like especially higher end tournaments, we never see like a fight just drag out. One team one team or another is gonna, you know, try and make the move, take advantage, and it's just inexperience, you know, that really slows things down, and it happens at this stage of the game.
The only time we see situations like that on the high end, and we never see it on the low end, which kind of frustrates me, is, you know, teams need to understand their presence in a lobby. So, like, the only time we'll see a situation like that at the high level is where two squads are sharing a location, right? They're pretty close together. But sometimes that location is a little bit too big for a team to hold by themselves. So what they'll do is they'll say, you know what? Hey, squad that's over there, you handle that side. We'll handle this side, right? And then we'll face each other at the end. It's all about getting the most points. So teams have that awareness when it's time to, you know, get it done in unison. And meanwhile, Excuse getting caught out by Wall Street Bets. Back-to-back knocks, though, on either side. Here comes Cordy. Looks like he finally found his weapon, trying to make it back in time to help his teammates, but it looks like Excuse are getting the better of them.
Juwon gets knocked right there on that flanking side, so he's isolated from the rest of the squad, not going to be able to get revived unless if they finish this fight. It looks like Excuse wants to finish the fight themselves, and the pre-fire coming out. Last bullet catches him Already gets knocked. Kai comes around the side with the AK. Both players extremely low. Kai reacts just fast enough. It's down to the 1v1, Jukes. This is for all the marbles.
Slimmy!
And Pi, Non, and Slimmy. Your man, Slimbot, clutches it up. And he's going to get that full reset for his whole entire team.
Let's go, baby. I'm such a huge fan of this player. I used to play with him back in the day, back in my old competitive days. Seeing him grow and seeing him back is huge, but let's see what Canadian Eagles could do against Kubi from Butterfly Effect. So we've seen this paradise, right? Hot drop between these two teams time and time again, and Canadian Eagles getting the better of them is huge. Now, this is that situation we've seen before too. YKG, they know what is going on, so they're like, hey, let's third party this, try to pick up some sneaky eliminations as well.
Yeah, look at Joey. He's already flanking from the other side to cut it off. And, I mean, that takes... You got to be careful. Joey is a little bit separated, but look how confident he's moving. He just knows there's nobody here. And if there was, I think Joey can just out-reaction them. Like, Joey just so deadly in the CQC, and that's like sharks right now. Look at the overhead shot of the 4 YKG members crunching in on the Canadian Eagles.
And you can just see Quinn holding this spot. And Joey, getting a huge knock is going to be crucial. The teamwork. Look at that. Joey has a shot and instantly supported by his teammate. This is what it's all about, guys. This is how it's done. You know, you don't teams at the highest level, they don't fight fair, right? They're not going to go ahead and 1v1 you if they can, unless they absolutely have to. They're going to bring in 2, 3v1, whatever it takes to win the game, and puts a big old cash in their pocket.
And just the speed, right? We see a little bit more inexperienced teams. They'll come and help too, but it'll be like a half a second later, a second later, and the trade will come in. But right there, it was like the second one player is peeking, the other is just right there at the other angle. Not even less than a half a second separation. They were just back to back. And that was after Joey finished off another player on the top and then instantly went down, knew what was happening, knew where he needed to go to support the next player.
Yeah, and you know, it's crazy when we talk about that difference. It literally is 1 second, folks. Like 2 seconds, and that player is not just knocked, but also thirsted.
Yep.
You know? And there's no way of picking it back up. So, yeah, definitely different levels to it, for sure. So YKG getting a nice little point on the board. Wall Street Bets with 4, especially off that nice finish we saw a little bit earlier onto Excuse. So beautifully done. Canadian Eagles picking up 4 as well, but they do lose 2 in the process. And this is what I was talking about, Zoo. You know, at the highest level, teams understand when it's time to take a fight and when it's time to work together. And what I was saying is, like, let's say you have a dominant position in the center. 2 of the top squads are holding it down, right? Well, those teams have the awareness to realize that it's better to allow that squad to share a location, cover the other side, and then we'll fight them later in game. Because both are so smart to where, hey, if we take this fight right now, we're gonna get third partied, even if we win, right? Even if we win, we're getting third partied and we're taking out the lobby. So I want to see more squads do that, Zute, because some teams realize when it's time to allow another team to live for their advantage, rather than just fight once you see a player and you know, lose the game because of that.
That just takes like a higher caliber of just understanding the game overall, right? And teams will get there eventually. The more competitive experience you get, and that just comes with time. And some of these teams, they're a little bit newer, especially in terms of synergy. So sometimes one player might know better, but the rest of the team doesn't quite fully understand it yet. So it just takes time to mesh that, to gel that together for the teams to be on the same page. We're still in Circle 1, Jukes, and we've already had 2 teams go out. Actually, 3 teams, because I think Canadian Eagles are out. That info on the right side is a little bit lagging behind. As Wall Street Bets, you know, those 2 players are revived by now, for sure.
Yep. Yes, they are, definitely. And, you know, I want to give an example. So just to give an example of what we're talking about, guys, you know, Alpha 7 versus N-Hyper in the last finals we saw. You know, Alpha 7 saw a team pushing right past them to go and crash onto N-Hyper. Alpha 7 could have taken that squad out immediately.
Yep.
Easy, a few elimination points, right? But they understood what the position was in the lobby. They say, you know what? Let them live. Let them drive right by us. Let them crash onto NHyper. And then that'll disrupt NHyper's position. We'll just come in third party, clean them all up, and easy win.
Yep.
You know? So it's decisions like that that are huge, but you're right, too. It takes discipline and understanding from each one of your members. Because all it takes is one player to just shoot, wipe that car out, and then that play is gone.
Yep. Circle shifting down south. So we're going to be in for a treat a little bit east of Quarry. Hope it goes a little bit further east because we've already seen like a Quarry-ish ending as Extreme Slayers rotating in on the buggies. And they're going to rotate right up this hill. This hill is like one of the most deadly hills to travel through. And they're going to just... Are they rotating through to bait out shots for a fight? It looks like it. So that was their plan. I was going to say, this is not a safe rotation, but they weren't looking for a rotation. They were looking for a fight, Jukes, and they got it. And they're already up ahead. They took down 2 members. Robert GG is not already getting revived, and Extreme Slayers, they're a different breed.
The vehicle play, it's so huge. So Extreme Slayers being so strong in that early mid-game, unfortunately, you know, taking sometimes a little bit too much risk and not able to finish that chicken dinner. But then sometimes that risk pays off, right? And they're it's gonna pay off with a good position, a huge advantage on a team like Puppeteers. Dong is at the grass. And I'll tell you what, Dong in the grass is dangerous. He'll sneak up on you, that's for sure.
See if Dong can make a play. He's been making plays for Puppeteers all week long last week. This one, not able to. And actually, SLR from the north side catches Dong out. Oh, it's so unfortunate for Dong. He might have been able to make a play, but gets caught by a different team completely. No luck for the Puppeteers. And Extreme Slayers, I said they're a different breed, but like they really are. Usually a team with vehicles on Sanhok uses it for rotations, right? Extreme Slayers, they use it to drive into the fights in the most dangerous positions to find points.
Wow.
There's 2 different ways to utilize vehicles, and I guess Extreme Slayers, they're using it the other way.
Yes, they are. They're using it the other way indeed. And so far, we see SLR picking up that big point there. Long, just catching Dong off guard. Nothing he can really do in that particular situation. That's the tough part about Sanhok is, you know, you try to hide in one spot, but, you know, you can leave yourself open to almost every other direction. It's crazy to see. And YKG over here by Bonmi had their eyes on the BOPE. Ophelia trying to take a little play out of the XS playbook. Driving around that buggy looking for some intel. Meanwhile, Joey looking to apply that pressure. That's 3 eliminations for YKG. I think YKG definitely want to put some big points on the board here, especially considering that NHyper's not playing.
Yeah, they definitely have some catching up to do now after having a rather rough first 2 games and NHyper just doing way better. As next circle comes out, we are going to that east side, further east. We'll see where the zone takes us. Maybe we'll go down to Lakawi. We'll see. But Quarry definitely out of play now. I mean, if teams are still playing in Quarry after this zone, they're going to be stuck down there.
Oh, they're going to be stuck big time. And that is a situation they don't want to be in. Speaking of stuck, SLR is caught out by Extreme Slayers. Extreme Slayers looking to get some angles onto them and looking to push the action. But I think at this point, especially where the zone is, it's best to just leave. And I think that's what they're going to do. Yeah, just forget the fight. Prioritize position, especially in Sanhok.
Yeah, or you got to do both. You got to finish the fight and then rotate because, you know, Sanhok.
So that's risky, though.
Yeah,
That's risky. At stage 3 is like the worst time to make pushes because if you do, it has to finish instantly. Like less than 30 seconds on the fight. Otherwise, you're getting third party.
Execute on the south side. You could hear the disappointment and uneven when we were talking about Execute. Still struggling. We've had a day off. It should be enough time for them to recoup, to come back strong. But they're still struggling. The first game that they played today was the previous game. Yeah, Binky
The
Bay.
corgi just staring at me like, yup.
It's like, where are they at? Where are they at? Tell me.
Where are they? Tell me. Tell me, I need that intel. I need that intel. Sniff them out. Sniff them out. You know, and so you used to play with Execute back in the day. We heard, the Jason saying should Sute come back to Execute.
I heard that.
Yeah, you know what I'm saying? So let me ask you this. If you were to hop back on the squad right now, right, what do you think you would do? What changes do you think you would make?
I'd just probably be the IGL and just let Fate focus on
Fate the boot.
fragging. No, Fate is a really good fragger. There's like very few moments, but I've seen it on stream when we've been casting the tournaments where Fate is a fragger. Close range, he could pull off some plays. And I think innately, Fate is like on the more aggressive side. So that's why when you see him make a play, he's instantly doing it and not on time, not on sync with the rest of the team. It's more just long range shots, rings out. And so I think if Fate just focused fully on fragging, if there was another player that could really just take on the IGL, or maybe, have it a little more half and half, the way, Fate and I used to do it when I was on the team, it might be better. But hey, that was years ago. The competition has been completely elevated. So I don't know if I could, if my IGLing is anywhere close up to par for the lobbies nowadays.
I'll tell you what, if I was on the IGL, I would say don't even get near the edge of the cliff. That's what I would say. Stay close to me, my friend. Juancho with the shots on the Joey. Catches him off guard. Neither team realizes who they're going against yet. Now that they haven't have a finish. But PASSIONFRUIT catching. Wow, YKG in a tough position. Fears. I'm gonna make a play. Chico's gonna have to make a huge one with this DBS, but he can't do it. Nate shut them down, and that's shutting down YKG. So that's got to be huge for PASSIONFRUIT's overall mentality, especially with this new fully lined up roster here.
That's another bad game for YKG. I know they picked up a few eliminations earlier in Paradise, but man, YKG. I think this is the worst we've seen them do so far, and out of any of the days.
Yeah, it's true. Yeah, they're losing fights that we don't normally see them lose as well. So I wonder what's going on. I mean, because we can't even say that they're trying new stuff, right? Because they need those PMGC points desperately. So that is a very big question mark for me, and I think a lot of people watching. Meanwhile, PASSIONFRUIT looking to put an exclamation point on the board here in this Sanhok match, putting a lot of pressure onto these squads.
Yeah, PASSIONFRUIT's doing a really good job there. The hustle, taking down YKG. Now they got to hustle a little bit more into this zone. Super Lazy Reflex looking to gatekeep them out. Zuko on the high ground, figuring out a way in. He should get taken down here, running in the open. Yeah, not much he could do there, but the trade fire instant. PASSIONFRUIT's answering right back. And Zuko might be able to crawl down if XZZ can't find the finish. Nope. XZZ does find the finish. PASSIONFRUIT's will be down to a 3-member squad, and they are in the zone, but just on the edge for now.
Just on the edge for now, indeed. Juancho looking to sneak up on the players. By the way, everybody, let's look at this, though, as BOPE does make the push. Supra with the DBS. Wow, gets one and not able to get the other. That's just Jimmy. Last player up. Actually, there's two players up for Speedfire. Ophelia's going to have to make a play. He does decide to go for the res, though. Very bold play. Is Jimmy going to make this push? Looks like he's going to bite out his time, and Cesar is a little bit too far. I think Jimmy does jump out the window here.
He's trying to.
He's trying to, but he doesn't want the animation. So
Yeah.
that's why he's going to wait over here. Oh, he sees him. Yep.
Oh.
Lay down gets absolutely bodied by Fuego. And that is speed. Cesar just has to sit there and watch. Sit there and watch in pain.
Yeah. The timing was just not there. I think if it took that long to find an angle, it was better off to just jump out the window to begin with. But hindsight, right next zone, coming in to the west side. Corey's still in the zone right there on the very edge. Wall Street Bet's going to be chilling over there. But the battle for the hill will begin as this zone starts closing. Look at all those teams, Jukes, not in the circle. That's going to be having to fight uphill.
Huge uphill fight indeed. And they're going to be on the way in just a few seconds. 20 seconds left on the clock, by the way, folks. Apologize for the technical difficulties. That feed on the right is frozen, so it is not accurate. So there's only 10 squads remaining at this point. 31 players up. Fate getting some nice knock there onto Ace. Juancho putting the pressure on BOPE as well. BOPE outside of the zone, they are just completely stuck. And that buggy being gone, there goes their chances.
Yeah, that's rough. Any team uphill is all looking downhill right now. They know there's so many teams not in the zone that have to make this difficult crossing. That is free points. BULUC definitely keeping an eye out. He sees the blue zone closing. He's going to start scoping in. Players should be running out any second now. He catches one. Oh, that's actually Juancho catching that player. And Juancho confirming it really quickly. Fuego in the last remaining buggy. Full sends it uphill. Full sends it into Lotus as Lotus is doing the same. Hello, that's not your team. And he's going to just keep driving by and circling the map. He drives into Ace of Spades and it's actually Execute that finds him.
Question, have we ever seen that work? Ever?
No.
Never, right? I don't think we've ever seen a player just full send blind into the center in a zone like this ever make it to safety. Maybe once or twice, and they end up in a bowl, but then they get, what, maybe one position higher? So, guys, it's not worth it. Just either run in, try to make a play with your M4, because with a buggy, it ain't gonna happen. Juancho, oh man, Juancho. Monster player for PASSIONFRUIT, but this is Sanhok. No matter how good you are, if Papa Blue don't love you, you're in trouble.
PASSIONFRUIT's down to 2 in the zone, just teasing them right there. So close, but yet so far. It's a couple trees they have to run by. A couple bursts of no cover that they have to make it through. And if BULUC could get an opening here, that can definitely help. The toes. PASSIONFRUIT needs to take opportunity of this and make a play. As in, like, move into zone. BULUC does have three smokes.
Oh, K19
from the back.
Right in his back. Ah, he felt that one down to his spine. That's got to hurt. And that's going to hurt PASSIONFRUIT big time. So it does give Lotus a little bit more breathing room. K19 putting some nice points on the board. And we're looking to see who's going to be the top 3 finish here in this match, folks. Put your predictions in the chat. A lot of still teams that are in pretty good spots. K19 has the North. And they also have HHU4. Juancho. Nothing he can do with that position as Lotus is going to knock them out.
Yeah, that's why I was saying when BULUC got the knock, they had to do something there. They got to start moving because time was ticking. Wall Street Bets, their time is pretty much done. QWERTY might be just looking to deny the point in all honesty. Then again, you could go for the hero play, run across the road, maybe get 2, 3. It's not looking likely, though.
Nope, just deny the point. Just deny the point. Go out to play zone. Use a little bit of the healing strategy from the past days. It don't work no more. But hey, you know what? Might as well. Might as well. Try to see if we can sneak another placement here. Here comes bandages. QWERTY making the smart play, not giving up 3 points. That's what you're supposed to do in that situation.
Extreme Slayers still up with 4 on that west side. New zone comes out, and Extreme Slayers are going to have to move in. And there is a 4-man team of Execute right on top of their head. Not just that, K19 is close by as well as Killswitch
Remix
goes down. And it's actually K19 that found that knock. And K19 knocking both players while Yuya also knocked. Now, Extreme Slayers have to focus on both sides. This is such a difficult spot for the Extreme Slayers team to figure out.
I think they realize that, you know what, going left is going to be the play, but you can't really with this zone. They're forced to go right. So now they're going to have to push up into Execute.
Oh, knock on trick.
Wow, that nade is so huge. Here comes Remix with another one. Killswitch has got to be careful. A little bit overcooked. It bursts in the air. That nade looks good, though. Killswitch peeks out and gets caught. The rest of Execute, all those nades so huge. It's just Ayuya and Blue Zone is going to do the job here and finish off Extreme Slayer. That nade, beautifully placed. There's only one player up left for XS. And oh, it's Robert all on this angle.
Oh, this nade. He should definitely catch one here. Oh,
it pieced up both.
1v2.
He's got another.
I don't think.
Throw it.
Oh, Tensa gets knocked. Third party from somewhere. Third party by a nade.
And a molly. That's Ace of Spades. Ace of Spades coming and absolutely demolishing Execute. Top 3 finish still possible. Let's see if it can get done though. Meanwhile, Execute.
Oh, that nade.
Fate barely alive. Still trying to make a play. He's going to get another elimination as Kiddo is getting into it with Lotus Esports.
Yeah,
Ready?
Lotus
for Angles.
Making the play, crashing in. Ace of Spades versus Lotus down here at the compound. There's 2 sets of buildings though, so they got a little space to work with, a little bit separated. Might not see the full out fight, and everyone else is eliminated. I don't know who went out in third and who went out in fourth, but I know who's the last 2 up. It is Lotus and Ace of Spades, and Fetty with the DBS gets the opening for the team. 3v2 situation. How will Ace of Spades play this one out?
Oh, that's the question. 10 eliminations, though, already for Lotus is huge, so a massive gain for them. This is Sanhok, right? This is that chance to put up big points on the board, especially if you're one of those mid-pack teams. Ace of Spades. Wow, ILY catching Fetty. Guerra with the off angle, though. It's a good one, too. This could be an easy win. Ace of Spades, last player up. It's Mumbai. Blue zone, chunking him. Nothing you could do. Yep. It is Lotus Esports. Gonna go ahead and win this Sanhok match with some solid eliminations.
Lotus Esports coming in huge right there at the end. And boy, what a Sanhok game. It ended in the bowl at the compound. All that fighting up on the hill, everybody got taken out, and it ultimately came down to those 2 teams. Lotus Esports, huge chicken dinner for them. And Sanhok, you can never be safe on, which team is gonna win. The circle's so deadly on this map.
100%. I mean, yeah, the Sanhok is definitely that map where being favored is so critical. It's hard to play edge because anytime that zone shifts in circle 5, 6, 7, you only have like 40 seconds. So if you're on the edge, you got 3 teams gatekeeping you. If that zone goes off you, you're done for. So it's good to see a team take advantage of that situation and put some nice points on the board.
Yeah, and also it's just the way that zone played out. It went east, and then it pulled back west up the hill. But by then, you had so many teams left alive all around the hill, the north, south. It was just a slaughter fest, and the bowl ended up being the safe place at the very end, Jukes.
Beautifully done, guys. Let's go ahead and take it on over to the desk right after these highlights.
Boy, I am on fire today. I am 3 for 3 in predictions, and my analyst is what?
I'm not sure. Well, I'm not keeping track.
Well, I'm keeping track. He's a 0 out of 3. It's tough, man. It's a different skill set when doing predictions. First you got to read the question correctly. So I'll give you that. You did definitely read it wrong on one of them when you did your predictions. But it's fine. It's not about us. It's about the players, about the teams, about Lotus taking home a victory here. And I believe we have the match rankings, if I'm not mistaken, to see how many points they got. No, we don't have those. So I can't tell you how many points they have because I actually don't know how many eliminations they had at the very end. But one thing I can tell you uneven is that they won the game.
That they did. And maybe I retired for a reason. My predictions, not liking it, but I think I can clutch up for the rest. I'm gonna pay very close attention to these questions from now on, and I'm gonna hopefully get some more accurate predictions going because 0 for 3, I don't like that. I don't like that one bit. Not for my debut.
You got plenty more days, man. You got 4 more days this week to get the prediction game on point.
That's true.
But I mean, one thing we can really kind of touch on here, YKG, man, they have had a horrible day so far, unfortunately for them. They've not scored very many points, and for the team who was number 1 at the end of the first week, for the team who came out the gate swinging week 1, it's a little bit confusing to see this fall off in play. Do you have any insights into this?
Yeah, I mean, there's interesting dynamics when you're leading a tournament. You know, there is that aspect of like, we're in first place. We should have that positive momentum pushing us forward. But at the same time, there's very high expectations set on yourself. And there can be a very drastic and significant change once the results start dropping, right? So you're in that first place, they're getting comfortable wins, they're playing really nicely, the kills are rolling, everything's going well, and then suddenly they start this day off, and it's hyper opposite, and that kind of just screeches you to a halt. That is an interesting dynamic that happens sometimes when you're leading tournament. I've definitely experienced it myself, and I think they're definitely in a bit of a mental strut right now that they need to get themselves out of.
Well, I can say this, I've never experienced that. I always perform when I play in tournaments, which is never. But they have 4 eliminations together. 24K has 1, Chico has 2, they have 5. Fierce has 1, and Joey has 1. So they have 5 eliminations total out of the 3 matches they played, meaning they only have 1 match left to play, which is the match coming up. And I'm not sure what they can do. And maybe it's just a one-day thing. Again, they are currently technically in first when it comes to finals because they have the most bonus points, assuming they make it to finals, which I think they probably should. But something needs to fix, like something needs to change. And obviously when you have these long-form tournaments, it is tough to play at the level they've been playing at every single day. But you know what? I'm not going to be too harsh on them until tomorrow. But one team I will be harsh on, do you know who it is?
No, I don't.
PASSIONFRUIT, man. I gotta go in on them. I'm sorry. Like, I know Seven said he'd give him the first week. I gave him the first week as well, just to be courteous to him. But you know what, man? Wancho, he's the only one really performing. He's got 4 eliminations. You got Nate on 1. You got BULUC on 2, and Zuko on 2. And Sixes has yet to play a match so far this week. I don't know what's going on within them, man. But like, Nate was such a heavy hitter for them when he was back on the Panthers last season. I'm expecting a little bit more out of like every single player on this team, and yet they still aren't able to replicate when they finally broke some ground. I believe that was on day 4 of week 1.
Yeah, I mean, their performance is so low that it is hard to pinpoint what could be going on, right? Without knowing communications and things behind the scenes. But there's a whole lot messing up, right? I don't see them getting into almost any late games to show off their mechanics.
Well, they've got a late game yet to even show us the mechanics. That's the
exactly,
part.
Yeah, exactly. So it's tough to say, but I mean, I think it's just mistakes stacking on mistakes, and like a very, very hard negative momentum right now, right? A huge mental rut. Like, people keep getting picked off. They're not getting those real fight opportunities. You know, sometimes you get into those tournaments where it feels like you're never getting that honest chance because everyone's making these consistent mistakes, and they really do stack up. And then you're there and you're like, I feel like we haven't had a 4v4 in weeks.
Yeah. Well, so let's maybe break down something in this last match as well. Extreme Slayers, I feel like this is one of the few teams, I want to say maybe Hyper is another one. I'm not too sold yet on YKG, but I'm always willing to be proven wrong. Is that they were able to show that they can play from like edge and they can play from center. And I feel like that's something that makes them such a strong team. Obviously having a tough time here with XQ catching them out in this last match on Sanhok, but Robert was able to stay alive long enough and take down its fate, get themselves top 3. But they're a team that like, I feel like we've been able to see play from so many different scenarios and have like fairly consistent results.
Yeah, that's a really important tool, the flexibility, because, you know, there is no one way to win games. And oftentimes, based on, you know, there's so many factors going on, there will be games where you have to play center, and there will be games where you have to edge. And teams that are limited to one is a very, very huge disadvantage. So, you know, it's very nice seeing those flexibility. You know, they played that well in Sanhok. Unfortunately, they had the low ground, and late games in general, but Sanhok specifically, high ground is absolute key to win these late games. They had to push up. They give a good effort though. I saw some nice trades. So yeah, XS, Extreme Slayers, playing very well. I like it.
If you were to like give us a dark horse, actually, from what you see in the first week in this event, who would you kind of pick that to?
To me, honestly, right now, Puppeteers are still a dark horse. Like we've seen that big,
read my mind,
that big performance, but we also see this huge inconsistency that like they're not up there right now. They're kind of slowly dropping and like losing all that progress that they made with those huge last 2 days or last 3 days of the first week. But so that makes them a dark horse, right? Like they've got the potential. I see it in them. We've seen it in games 2 back-to-back wins. That doesn't have, like, with those kill elimination numbers, that's not luck. You know, that's
I'm glad you said the potential, though. I think that's like perfect. They have the potential, but the consistency is the rough part. They're so inconsistent. They're consistently inconsistent, I think, is the best way to say it there. And not sure exactly why. Obviously, you can have some bad games, you can have some good games, but for us, we only have good games here on PMPL. So let's send over to our commentators to kick off our 4th match of the day. Hot Jukes and Zute, take us away with your disparity.
Disparity to be had. Word of the day, disparity. Look it up in the dictionary.
It's new.
Yeah, it's coined by Hot Jukes himself. But we are here coming into the 4th game of the day. We are back on Erangel. We already had a crazy one with that military base ending. We've had 2 military bases now. I'm hoping we get like a George Poole finish or a Crades finish, one of those ones. Or Pachinki. No, we've had military base, and it's fun, not gonna lie. But I miss the urban combat environment of some of these city zones.
That would be great to see. Let's see where this first zone decides to go. All right. All the way on over to the east side. Who knows? We could still deal with the Yasnaya finish, right? School still in play. A lot of different cities. But then, of course, you know, this side of the map, very familiar, of course, to these teams. We saw a Lumberyard finish before. PMPL zones are always fun to watch. And this particular zone is going to be good, right? For Hyper, PASSIONFRUIT, squads that are already landing in this area. Uh-oh, PASSIONFRUIT getting into it with K19. HH gets lit up. Nate's got to be careful.
Yeah. HH down to just 1 HP. Big Nate himself moves back a little bit, pops the med kit. HH, only 1 grenade left in hand.
No vest.
No weapons.
No weapons.
That's the more important thing. And PASSIONFRUIT's the rest of the squad is here. K19.
Oh.
Okay.
He knew. No, HH knew. HH, as soon as he heard the buggy coming from PASSIONFRUIT, he knew I'm toast. I got nothing. And made the play himself.
You know what?
Beautifully done.
That's an HH thing to do. Like
100%.
Usually, 99% of the time, be like, "Oh, that."
It's still in a parachute.
And PASSIONFRUIT's chasing the parachute down because Juancho is here and he's showing up with the pistol.
Skur's got a. He's got the Tommy though.
What is happening, Jukes?
And I think if you saw the animation from Juancho, you realize that the pistol's. Oh, Skur almost gets pistol in the back of the head from Zuko. What is going on here in this Erangel match?
I don't know. It is Clown Fiesta. K19 and PASSIONFRUIT's. I mean, PASSIONFRUIT's technically not being Clown Fiesta because they're picking up points wherever they can.
Wow. Okay, Valak finds a weapon. He's got a good one, too. Let's see. A Trip having the same one. Meanwhile, they are looking for angles. He's going to spot a little pixel. Is he going to go for the peek? He should. Juancho's got, I think he's got a nade locked and loaded. Meanwhile, we see Skills of Mind get one onto a White Elegy. Zuko's on a run, and he's running all the way across those buildings to try to find something, some kind of weapon.
Yeah. Oh, and with that knock, Skur, can he get the 2-piece? He does not. That would have changed everything because everyone else on PASSIONFRUIT's nowhere close by. Zuko's all the way out in the open with the pistol, now running back, seeing as how, the fight's done. Okay, I can show up now.
Look at him. Wow. Trip just hugging him, saying, "Hey, bad guys, come on, please, leave me alone." Instant thirst. Skills of Mind, Super Laser Reflex going at it. Trixie getting caught in the dip, and that's going to be Skills of Mind out. So SLR picking up a nice little 4 points to start things off here.
2 teams already out so quickly, one after another. You know, when you said teams need to pick up the pace, I don't know if this is what you had in mind, but the pace has been picked up. It has been quickened.
Oh, 100%. The pace has been raised. So, nice squad wipes off the rip here. And we're looking at BOPE over here in Milta. They're going to be big chilling with a whole bunch of real estate. Nobody even near them right now, so they're going to have all of Milta to loot. Crazy start to this game to see PASSIONFRUIT and K19 go at it the way they did. That was a wild one, especially to see K19 so late on the drop.
Yeah, somebody was parachuting still.
It's a trip.
And PASSIONFRUIT was chasing down that parachuting member because they pulled up with like a pistol because they're just thinking, oh, there's a guy parachuting in still. That's a free point. Doesn't matter if I only have a pistol.
Right?
And yeah, and then there happened to be another K19 player already there trying to like maybe lay a trap, and it was weird
Gross.
stuff, Jukes. Weird
Yeah,
stuff.
yeah. That's the correct word. Weird stuff. All right. And we've seen a lot of crazy stuff so far today. You know, teams that we thought were a surefire win ended up losing it. You know, I'm talking about you, XS. We saw some shenanigans in Sanhok and just continuing on here throughout the day. A very interesting one, especially, you know, seeing YKG suffer compared to every other day, right? YKG popping off like crazy. They still haven't bought the trust from Jason, which is wild to me. You know, in my eyes, you know, YKG have done enough. But, you know, when Jason says that and you see them not have a day that is expected, I mean, we all have off days here and there. But, you know, when YKG has an off day, sometimes it's a scarily off day. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah. Jason's just the really strict parent that you never gain approval of. You know?
That's correct. That's correct.
Because Jason's picking them and all this on the first week. YKG slaying it. You know, top of the leaderboards. And one bad day, and Jason's like, no, I never had trust in them. I still don't believe in them.
No food for you. No food for you.
That's Jason for you.
Yeah, classic. Very classic. You know, Jason, hopefully one day he can gain trust in Joey. I wonder what it would take for Jason to truly believe in Joey's abilities. You know, I said it for the longest time. One of the
He's
best
got to
players
lift that
in North
trophy.
America.
That
He's gotta lift that
PMGC trophy. Yeah,
That's what
and
it
then
is.
Jason might be like, okay, I'll give it to you.
Wow, well, you know what? That would be the day. He gets that trophy. We see the legendary Joey Jason interview. Then I think all will be correct in the world. But you know what? Let's get back to the match. As we see here, we do have a whole lot of open terrain, a lot of action here to start things off, Sute. Oh my gosh, look at it. Look at it. Look at this rotation.
Yeah.
Here's on the
Speaking
move.
of YKG. Yep, YKG on the move. Something that Uneven talked about YKG, I do like that he brought it up, is that when you're so far in the lead, like when you're doing that well, a bad game becomes a terrible game, right?
That's true.
And a good game is just like okay, well, I mean, we didn't get as much points as, you know, we usually do in our other huge games. And so like mentally, that does get very straining. Like when you can't improve because you've already done so well, everything is like, it's all downhill from here. And it is going really downhill right now for YKG.
Gotta agree. YKG just hopefully will turn it up here, shut us all up, like we saw Extreme Slayers do on that one day where they were performing pretty rough, but then popped off in the last game.
On the last game, yep.
Yeah, and they want to do it because, and honestly, I hope they do, because I want to see I don't want to see N-Hyper like cruise at all. I want to see N-Hyper work for it. You know, they wanna
challenge N-Hyper. They need to keep growing.
Exactly. So I want to see YKG make a battle for it. I do wish come PMGC points there were more teams, right, that were there to kind of, you know, battle it out. But right now it's a battle between these two squads. And to be honest, if there was one team in particular I would want to represent North America on that big stage, it's got to be either YKG or N-Hyper.
Yeah. Speaking of N-Hyper, picking up 2 quick points. Liking this split. N-Hyper, they're doing... I don't know for sure. This is the only example I'm seeing right now in that instant, but I feel like N-Hyper splits have gotten a bit more opportunistic, right? So what I mean by that is before, they're splitting to just control areas of the map, to just simply, okay, we have this spot and we have this spot. If the zone goes here, we could go here, right? But that split was like a split where it's more of a, we could get some knocks and finishes now, instead of just, you know, holding, you know, 100, 200 meters away from each other for simply rotational purposes. So now it's like they're holding splits to catch players off guard on rotations and points. At least right there, from what I saw. So maybe that's another little change that we might be seeing, or maybe if we pay closer attention, like we'll start noticing a bit more and more.
Here we go. So little adjustments here and there. That's what this is all about and what we look to see. Meanwhile, we're seeing YKG very close to N-Hyper. And that's kind of funny, is that when we see teams decide to prioritize you know, a more central position, it seems to see that we always see YKG and Hyper so close to each other.
I mean, if YKG isn't on the edge of the map, just
Exactly.
exactly killing everyone else. But when they are both when there is two top teams in the center, it's usually NHyper and YKG, like you pointed out. So YKG, they can play the rotation game as well. They just decide under different situations when to do it. And, well, they can make it to center just like NHyper does.
That's always a funny thing as an IGL. Whenever you decide to pick a rotation or you decide to pick a spot, and you happen to fight the best team in the lobby, you know, or another squad that's just had so much success, it just makes you realize, like, dang, okay, we're thinking the same. You know, we're thinking something very, very similar. Now, who wins it, you know, and eventually if you realize that you guys do think the same and you can't win a fight against them, then you got to go and decide to pick another spot. Or maybe even camp a rotation, right? Camp them before they even get there. Sometimes that's the play, too.
Seems like that's exactly what Ace of Spades is trying to do. Trying to camp out that bridge crossing. But firing really aggressive shots, they'll go nowhere close to that bridge. I don't know if Ace of Spades had to do that. But then again, it's not too hard to scout out this gas station, right? You're able to see the wheels of vehicles. So I don't think Mazexis is going to make that mistake of crossing the bridge, regardless if Ace of Spades shot or not. And we're going into the next zone. And Hyper right there, center of the map, and the circle just shifts right to the middle, giving and Hyper, YKG, and Puppeteers great spot. Same with PASSIONFRUITs, and I do think that one team, that pink team right there, I'm trying to make out their full name, might be Butterfly Effect. Yeah, sitting at the compounds that we saw the fights earlier with K19 in.
PASSIONFRUIT looking to take OP dip, so they are holding that position for now. Meanwhile, we're looking at Puppeteers. Puppeteers, I'm going to agree with the desk. I'm going to agree with Seven. I'm going to agree with Uneven and Jason and Seven, because I know Seven would think the same thing, that the big dark horse in this tournament has got to be Puppeteers. I think this team is one of the most dangerous, because when they are really firing on all cylinders, they're ridiculous. They are so hard to beat. You know, but in situations where, you know, they're maybe not have that cohesion that we've seen before, we see them slip up back and forth. But once this team really just starts getting a little bit more consistent, I think they're going to be a force to be reckoned with.
I agree. And I feel like if the players start, you know, gelling a little bit more with Dong, I think the team will get even better. Because it's really obvious at this point. Dong is the leader of the team. And YKG, can they turn things around? A messy little start. It seems like one of their players knocked, but they do manage to find two of LOTUS. This is the best. Whoa, okay.
Wow.
Hello. Launches him in the air, and a grenade following it right up. That is aggression if I've ever seen it, Jukes.
24K with the quick shots from the M16 as well.
And Hyper.
Juan. Oh,
Someone's
catches
third party.
Joey.
Somebody just third party YKG there. I think it was 412
NOMADS.
Yep,
the NOMADS coming in hot right when they needed to. And Juan catching out YKG. I mean, this is what we're talking about. YKG, early mid-game, just seeming to get picked apart by squads that we would normally see them beat.
And Mazexis is here too now. Third party, fourth party. And Hyper, hearing so much commotion, they're here to play too. And they realize they're a little late to the party, so they're like, okay, we'll just go back center zone. But
no big deal.
Center zone, by the way, for where NHyper was chilling at, it's a good distance away. So they are being very opportunistic right now. So I love seeing that out of NHyper. And look, that could have easily been just 1 point right there if he got knocked. But it looks like they're staying to fight. NHyper got to play this one very careful, because I think this is not their forte, right? Just taking a straight up fight. So they are going to play a little more careful. They went for the opportunity play, which is great, which is something we don't see NHyper do enough of. So it's just beautiful to see that.
Beautiful to see indeed. And you know what the crazy part though is? We've seen YKG have so much success on that edge, right?
Yeah.
But have we seen them have success when they play Central?
I think they were kind of center previous zone, but then they wanted to go for the fight on the edge. And it looked good. It looked like they were going to pull it off. But the third party, and then obviously, I think Chico was supposed to win that 1v1, which is why he pushed up ahead by himself. Unfortunately, he got stuck with the M16 single fire, and it was not enough. the AK-1 out, and then YKG just having another sloppy game. They're not completely out yet. They have some players still alive, but definitely not the YKG we're used to seeing from week 1.
I do have to agree. Meanwhile, K19 eliminated. BOPE taking that OP dip now. They're going to be holding this spot. PASSIONFRUIT leaving it. I think they had this spot taken earlier, and Nightcrocs getting a nice shot onto them. Canadian Eagles coming around the edge as well. And started to make things interesting. BULUC and Poncho, the last 2 players up for PASSIONFRUIT. Koi on his off angle. Making a couple, I love what he does, right? When he realizes he's in big trouble, he shoots a few shots just to make them, you know, hesitate a little bit, gets in the vehicle, takes off. But he didn't commit to the takeoff, and Skyline might catch him out here, so he's got to be careful.
Yeah, that's interesting that he didn't just go back to the compound. I think what Koi was trying to do is set himself in a position where if MEZEXIS slams the compound, he's instantly at an off angle. But he was too close, so they heard the car, and they look over, and they still see the car there. Now, if MEZEXIS decides to fight this, and Hyper have more limited angles to work with, and they could also get third-partied here.
100%. You could definitely get third party. You're going to have to be a little bit careful here, and Kindness is going to throw some smokes out, get that snake play going. Looking to buy himself some time. And that's what I like about in Hyper lately, because you know what? We know they could do passive perfectly. You know, whenever it comes times to play it passive, wait it out, sneak around, they're so good at that. The aggression is where we've really seen them lack, but we've seen them develop it here. So
Yeah, it's great.
hopefully we continue to see that switch flip. Whenever it's time to turn it on, we see that instant push like we saw earlier today.
Canadian Eagles out here. BULUC, one of 2 last members up for PASSIONFRUITs, and Juancho and BULUC are very far separated. You see Juancho in the distance in the shack. BULUC's still stuck over here. Of course, Quinn doesn't know BULUC is here, so BULUC might be able to pick up a cheap point. Being very quiet here as Quinn fires off some shots towards Ace of Spades. They're rotating into the zone. Next circle is about to shift as well. So timing-wise, BULUC needs to make a play now. Is he going to decide to do anything?
Uh-oh, Quinn on the bold rotation, and looks like Ace getting into it with BOPE in this spot. Nice use of utility there from Fuego. He's going to throw another one. If he's got it, he's throwing it. Yep, here we go. Throws it. Looks good. And it does piece him up a little bit. Actually, it does get the knock on the Blinky Bay. Beautifully done.
OP dip.
OP?
Very OP. Just 2 players, though. And I think Canadian Eagles have an angle onto them once that smoke fades, so BOPE is going to be in trouble. He's just desperately trying to confirm his point before Canadian Eagles steal it. And the smoke is fading, and the next zone pops up. OP dip stays in zone, and Quinn goes down to the play zone. BULUC, it's that situation you were talking about. BULUC put in the shots, but the play zone ultimately got the knock. Is BULUC going to go back for the point? He's going to pick up another one. Yep.
Take it. Yeah, that's the worst case scenario. You have an easy thirst, and the play zone said, nope, mine. That's gotta hurt. Uh-oh, Chico getting ran over. The disrespect from it, Hyper. Maybe that might be the little motivation they need to start really kicking it into overdrive. Fears is the last one up, but he is stuck right next to this Lamborghini. Smelling the intake as he is laying down, waiting to figure out what to do in this situation. And Execute versus Puppeteers. This is a good battle here.
Yeah.
Nice shots there from Tetsa. Not able to get the knock, but leaves him down to 1 HP.
Yeah, Puppeteers here playing on the defense. Execute was the team that had to push into here, so Puppeteers, their defense falling apart so quickly. And what is happening? Trick just got a double, a 3-piece onto 412 Nomads, who crashed the side of the wall.
Wow.
So
Trick.
many points for Execute right here if they could clean it all up.
And they do it.
And Hyper!
The third party!
Are they
and Hyper!
Are they committing?
Oh, no, please tell me they commit.
Oh, they
They
are?
have to. A little hesitation, though. A little hesitation on the drive, but they do commit to it, so you can almost see a little bit of their reluctance, but now they're like, you know what, we gotta take this fight. Who knows if that half second is all it took. Rin with a beautiful nade. And Hyper looking to pick up some more points on the Execute.
Oh, what an angle!
Trick! Through the window! Beautifully done.
And a nade to the wall, maybe. Bounce it off. Chucks it downstairs. Can it make it through the doorway? Does not. GK first still up high on that ground with the off angle. He's got to make sure he has enough line of sight to support the team because all of them are knocked but one. Revive slowly coming through. And so now you can see why. You know, NHyper is not the team that usually goes super aggressive for these third parties. It's a situation that they're not fully comfortable with, but they're feeling it out right now, and they could still win this. It's a 4v4, though, if Koi gets revived here. And NHyper not looking in the best spot.
Not looking at the best spot because they are taking a little bit too much time here, right? They didn't want to commit to that push. They wanted to play it a little bit more off, and now they're stuck. So I want to see NHyper, if they're going to take a risk like this, just full commit. Full commit. You either win the fight and win the game, or you lose the fight and you go out early. And but by staying so long, they've really put themselves in a bind because this zone's most likely going to leave this spot, and they're going to be in a tough spot regardless. Okay, GK first finally realizing the situation, saying, hey, you know what? This angle is not cutting it. We got to make it a 4v4, and we got to make a push down.
Yeah, the blue zone was the zone actually pushing him off of that angle, so he had to come down here. Played so patiently, hoping to find a opening, and Koi, hopefully Execute doesn't realize that self-molly in the feed was on the team that they were fighting, but GK first finds a good nade back to slow things down once again. Ren on the off angle in the open? Trying to get cheeky there. He goes down. And that's another knock.
Execute got to make the push. They got to realize the situation. Do they have any more utility? That is the big one, and I don't think they do. I mean, we actually see him throw it back.
Not out that window.
Yep. Kill Switch does have the nade locked and loaded. He's going to thread this needle here. He goes up top, a little off the mark, and it doesn't even get into the building. So 18 seconds left on the clock. They are on the thin side. Luckily, the zone did go to them. So now it's about getting this fight done sooner than later. And let's see how Koi does it. Oh, watch this kindness jump right in front of him. Tenza with the nice pre-fire through the smoke gets kindness, and NHyper's in big trouble.
NHyper down to one. Should be it. Oh, the DBS from Koi gets a knock. No meds. 1 HP. Can't do much here at all. And goes down.
Oof.
Execute.
I hate to see that.
10 eliminations from fighting 3 teams there.
Unbelievable. So beautifully done from Execute. They're starting to turn things up a little bit, and that's what we like to see from the squad.
Turning things up indeed, but it's not done yet. Can they get the chicken dinner? Can they clean out the execution? Hopefully it's not a Vikendi, right?
Yes.
They did all the heavy lifting, and then at the very end, when the win was theirs, they fluffed it up. So this time around, they still got a little bit of work to do, but the chicken dinner is definitely not 100% guaranteed for Execute.
It ain't guaranteed until we see that winner chicken dinner on the screen. They do have all 4 up, 10 eliminations. Trick popping off here. Tensa getting some nice ones as well with 3. Fate pushing it here, watching his team come to help him out. Alim's gonna have to take off, and he does into the smoke, finds another position, and that gives a little bit more room for Execute to breathe here.
Just a little bit. Zone's about to shift. The rest of the battlefield, uneven, picking Butterfly Effect. I will say Butterfly Effect has probably the better position between Execute and them, but ultimately I think Execute has the more overall experience to close the game out. Can't, because they do have 4, and they're putting in work. They're making more space, looking for those eliminations rather than playing extremely passive. So that's great to see out of Butterfly Effect.
They have the position. They have all the position in the world. JC gets a nice one on the Fuego there. Nightcroc's just hanging out in the buggy. He could be in trouble because that nade's coming right towards him. Bop! Got him as well. So Jason completely eliminating BOPE. And we've seen Jason on previous rosters.
Yeah.
This guy could definitely frag out. That's for sure.
He was on Execute.
Yes, he was.
Right? Yeah,
he was.
He was big on Execute.
Well, he's on Butterfly Effect now, and can he finish off this game? He's in a great position. Uh-oh.
Spoiler.
Hops in the buggy, and he gets, he gets caught through the smoke by Jason. So Jason's popping off here at the end.
Jason is popping off. They're creating so much ground for themselves to work with. It might come down to the 4v4 between Execute and Butterfly Effect. Jason going against his old team here. It's not done yet for Canadian Eagles as there's still 1 player. trying to stay alive. But that blue zone closing in, I think Bob is done for. We're going to see that 4v4 come out. And last time Execute had a good fight, like at the game end, they choked it. So we'll see what happens this time.
The old versus the new. And I'll tell you what, Trick is a monster player. Previously on Mazexis, he just got back from Saudi Arabia playing in a global LAN. And he's looking to provide that experience onto this roster of Execute. Meanwhile, Jason, previously on the same squad, he knows how Fate thinks. He knows that he wants to push. He knows the angles he's going to take. So if he could realize that this is his own squad, if he just kind of puts him in his shoes, he could definitely give some little tidbits of information to the rest of the squad. And Butterfly Effect, we have seen them finish some games here and there, but not enough consistency to be reliable. Bob looking to get a finish and kind of caught him off guard. I think it is the Execute push off that.
Yeah, Execute. Fate, ever so aggressive, right? If Fate is instantly, he sees a knock in the kill feed, and he's like, okay, we need to do something here. Get some ground. Press our advantage. And then nade, self-nade. Bob is like, I'm done for.
I'm out of here. Say, I'm not going to blue zone. I'm going out on my own terms, baby. So throw in that nade. And now it's the top 2 squads remaining. Execute versus the Butterfly Effect. Butterfly Effect playing a lot tighter. Execute rocking a 2-2 split right now. Fate and Kill Switch on this off angle, looking to decide what to play. The thing about Execute split that I don't like is that if one player gets knocked, it's going to be very difficult to pick them back up. If Butterfly Effect, if one of them get knocked, they're going to have the quicker res. So,
oh, Kubi. Okay, he's just baiting out for info. That's good. I thought Kubi was actually going to press up, thinking he could get that far away from his teammate. Yeah, he's going to hold back a little further on the lines. So it is the stalemate, and we have one more circle after this, Dukes. So which team is it going to favor, north or south? Oh, the south.
Oh, okay. Butterfly Effect get a little bit more favor in this next zone. It's going to force Execute to have to push up. So Jason trying to mount up a defense here. You can see him getting those meds and energies off. He wanted that run speed advantage when you're fully boosted. As you can see, all these players fully boosted, ready to go. Kubi looking to catch one of the players from Execute off guard. Whose position do you like better? I know it's pretty even on this side of things, but I'm kind of liking Butterfly Effect's split just a little bit more.
It's so hard to say. I think when you're the team that has to press into the circle, you definitely want to be a little bit more split, because if you're all together next to each other or close, that's easy for all the other members of the opposing team to just crossfire you down, and you'll catch some stray bullets. So Execute being a little bit more split up here, pressing into this zone makes sense. They're trying to get as much info, all around, find which areas are better to press in, which angles are better. They're slowly but surely doing that. They're leaving one player really far out, Tensa, on the off angle. This is what I don't like. They're trying to do a little bit too much here. And the risk versus reward, I don't think will pay off, especially if Tensa gets knocked out there on his own.
Kill Switch creeping and crawling right behind the edge. Here comes the circle. So Fate's going to go ahead and hop in a buggy. Hits the tree on accident. Hits it twice for good measure, making sure that it is a tree. It is. And we see it is not a player. Jason looking to find some angles. So they're just buying some time right now, waiting pretty much to the final circle before things start kicking off.
Yeah. Also, I don't like Fate driving around this much, right? I get you're baiting for info, but it's a 4v4. If you just happen to get knocked out, you just make it a 3v4 for your team.
Fate playing it bold, doing some circles, and he's giving away his position, really. He's giving away the position of his team as well. He's doing some very bold driving skills. Getting caught out. Oh, down to 1 HP. Losing a lot of armor in the process, and he parks it right where the rest of his squad is. Yeah, so he just basically said, hey, hello, boys, we're right here. Oh, and now here comes the run over from Exotic, though. Just get a knock in the process. They have the huge advantage. It's just Trick and Kill Switch. He does get the confirm, though.
It's a 2v2, actually. The numbers are even.
Oh, that nade.
Trick goes down. 1v1. D versus Kill Switch.
D, free fire. Catches him slipping, gets the AK shots, and Execute can't finish. It's Butterfly Effect, winning a huge chicken dinner here in Erangel.
Oh man, I don't know what to say, but Butterfly Effect, hey, they closed it out. They played it well. Execute definitely just kind of trying to do too much again, in my opinion, right there. And it ultimately led to their downfall.
Wow. Crazy finish right there. I mean, I don't understand some of the plays that we see. I think I just see a lot of like indecision, hesitation. It's almost like Execute can't sit still, you know? Like in certain situations, they're like, oh, you know what? This ain't gonna work. Let's try to do this, try to do that. And then they end up doing too much and they get taken advantage of for it.
Yeah. Jason coming in with the most eliminations. So the player that used to be on a team with Fate on Execute gets his nice little, licks of damage in and, most elimination punch. Trick doing a great job, though, trying to carry that squad. 1,500 damage. That's we already knew Trick was a good pickup for Execute, but man, that man is putting in work.
Putting in work indeed. You know what? It's good to see Trick be able to provide that kind of support, but honestly, that's one of those games that Execute's going to look back at once again and be like, what did we do wrong? Hopefully we can see them fix it eventually, guys. Let's hear, of course, what Uneven and the legendary Jason have to say right after this break.
So I think what happened there was they went back in time, the butterfly effect, and they moved one grain of grass, which then caused Execute to group up and not push correctly. And now we're seeing what Ashton Kutcher was trying to tell us in the butterfly effect movie. I don't know where I'm going with this. Help me out.
What I think happened is I got a correct prediction.
Yeah, that right there just makes me feel disgusted. I was so sure we were going to get that with Execute. Let's take a look at the match rankings, though. But that is right. You get your first one finally on the board here. And they're just going to rein in. But 22 points for Butterfly Effect Esports. Not bad. 12 eliminations. Execute getting 11 as well. I mean, this is kind of odd, right? This day has been kind of having things backwards because we typically had like N-Hyper, YKG, Extreme Slayers doing the work, but we're starting to see some new people come into the mix.
Yeah, and this wasn't really a free game either, right? That was a real honest 4v4 against Execute to win. They didn't get handed. Sometimes you can get zone blessed really hard and get handed wins, but Butterfly executed that well. I liked their rotations up into that and controlling how they controlled that south side. They used their aggression well to clear out their side. Yeah, so this was an impressive game from Butterfly for sure.
What about Sanhok though, right? He gets in the vehicle, pushes up. He does knock one before he gets knocked.
Yeah.
But I feel like that's such a risky play because if he gets nothing from that, he puts his team in a 3-on-2.
I absolutely agree. Yeah, that it started kind of falling apart at the very late game. I liked how they were holding, or Exotic was holding that east side, waiting for a player to try to take some control because that's a natural instinct of a player. So he was playing that well, but once they got all that information that they were all grouped over there, like I think there was much better plays. Yeah, as you said, this is such a risky play, driving in there, hoping to get the one, jumping out in front of them. I think more often than that, that's not going to work. But Exotic had all this space to play with once they realized they got the info that all four were condensed on that west side, ready to push. Like he could have taken so much more ground, had some nice off angles to the side. It could have gone a lot better, but he made it work, I guess.
Yeah, I mean, the thing is, they got the win, right? They get the points. That's all fantastic. But we're thinking like towards Americas, right? Think of Alpha 7. I don't think they're going to let that fly. I think they're going to punish that ASAP, and that would be their victory. But at least gets them the win, gets them some confidence. And actually, let's take a look at their player stats here in this last match as well, because we saw Jason being on a tear, and we see it yet again here, going up against his X team. Gets himself the most damage on the team, most eliminations, more knocks as well. And Hey, doesn't really take that much damage, to be fair, with how many limbs they got across the board.
Yeah, a nice clean game from Jason. He showed a nice, some nice mechanical prowess at the end as well, right? Taking an unfavorable 1v1 against that player on the US who had the TPP or right hand peek advantage, and he took care of him. So I liked seeing that. Mechanically, that was sound for sure.
Something about Jason's and just really stepping up when the time is needed. What can I say? D though, that spray at the end, like, I'm not gonna lie, I feel like he shouldn't have won that up against Kill Switch. I don't know how you feel, but that spray with the AKM hip fire, like, that was a little bit of luck, I almost want to say.
Yeah, the 7.62 bullets hit very hard when you get those headshots. So, spraying through the smoke and you get that headshot. You can call it luck. You can call it, spatial awareness using audio. Who knows? Let's just hope you can do it again.
Yeah, right, exactly. We want to see them be able to do it again, but actually they should be playing the next game if I'm not mistaken. Let's take a look at Execute though, their counterparts and their player stats. And well, Trick, I mean, you'd heard Hotchicks talk about it. He was Mazexis before, played in Saudi Arabia at PMWI, got a lot of experience under his belt, and I mean, no one on his team comes close to the amount of damage he was putting out here on Even.
Yeah, I mean, this is one of those times where don't love to see that. Right, I would have loved to see a little bit more consistent. I mean, obviously it's great for Trick, but we want more distribution than that. There's always going to be one player that does, significantly better, but this is a little too significant, right? I want a little bit more participation. I mean, it's kind of clear in that last 4v4 that if everyone was pulling their weight evenly, they would have won that. That's just how the nature of like a 50-50 4v4 works.
Yeah. I'm actually surprised at Kill Switch a bit, because when he came onto the scene, like, he was always talked about as being this like golden child. Like, he puts up tons of limbs. He's like, his raw mechanical skills are insane. He has really great awareness, and I'm not trying to knock on him in any way, but I feel like I haven't seen that Kill Switch I heard about such a long time ago. And to be fair, I think that's the same for a lot of players, like Carrillo. In Loops, he was fantastic, and then he just kind of stopped being fantastic when he got picked up by Alpha 7 and he played maybe a different role for the team. But Kill Switch, like, I've just heard so much about him, and to not see him be able to have that kind of performance with what his reputation brings, it's a little unfortunate.
Yeah, he definitely did have that well, I heard of that reputation back in our day, but that was a long time ago, and I don't know if I agree too much, but okay, he can still prove me wrong. I did not like how he took that last 1v1. But at the same time, he did kind of get cheesed by that hip fire spread.
From the AK. Agree. It was a little cheese with the hip fire spread. Thank you.
AK hip fire is always cheese. I'm not gonna lie. There's just a random number generator in there, and sometimes your bullet goes to the moon, and sometimes it goes where your hip crosshair is. So
yeah. Well, we're about to get a Vikendi really quickly, like really fast. What's your thoughts on new Vikendi right now, and what you've seen it break down in competitive play? I'm actually not even sure if they played it in Japan, but there's not many regions of PMPL at least that are using it at the moment.
No, it used to be my favorite map back in the day before they removed it from the pool. I really love the high octane CQC fights, the building fights, because there's so many buildings. I like the rotations. I think it's one of the maps that, honestly, this is very controversial, but you can be the most consistent on. I learned this once I saw that BTR had like an outrageous, if you remember BTR back in the day, they had an outrageous win rate on this map, and I was like, you know what, they know something that nobody else does, because it was too significant, right, compared to all the other maps. So there are tricks to be consistent. I won't share them all, but I think it's one of the easier maps to play.
I'll get them from you, don't worry. If you guys at home, let us know your thoughts about Vikendi as well here, being played in competitive play with the hashtag PMPLNA. You can tweet to us, you can post on Instagram, you can join Discord, you can do whatever you like. Just let us know your thoughts, because we'd love to hear what you guys have to say, especially about Vikendi back in the mix. Suckers in Europe, PMPL Europe, they don't get Vikendi. Losers, they get TDM instead, I think, this season. I know they did last season. But you know what? Our next match is ready to go. It's our final match here of day 1 of week 2. So Hot Jukes and Zute, take us in.
Here we go. It's the last match, folks, here for the day. We're heading out into the icy tundra of Vikendi. All right, we got a lot of big teams, a lot of big names not playing in this one. One in particular is going to be YKG. YKG is sitting out, and Hyper is back in. YKG had a really, really rough day today, and this is one of those days where Hyper could really just
continue to step up and destroy them on the leaderboards and even steal away that roster, that spot all the way over to PMGC. That is huge.
Yeah, and this is a perfect match to make a point, right? If you have one bad day and the one game that you're playing or that you're not playing that we're in, if an Hyper pops off here, that's a huge statement, right? Like, it's a huge morale blow too, potentially, to the side of YKG if N Hyper get a top 3 finish here.
Yeah, indeed. Let's see if they can finish strong. Uneven said he had some tricks of the trade to be able to get consistent points on Vikendi. Then again, this is new Vikendi. I'm taking a look at, I don't see any kind of crazy hot drops right now, nothing too wild. So everything seems pretty copacetic right now as this zone comes up in a very safe circle as well. No, not a huge water zone like we've seen in the past here.
Yeah, definitely a lot of icy cliff edges not going to be in play, so that's a good thing for a certain team. That certain team should have, okay, I won't say they should have won the last match because it was a 4v4. They could have played it a little bit better though, in my opinion, but hey, this time around, you got 4 back up. There's no icy cliff edges. They might take the win this time. We'll see.
Come on. We need to see Execute finish some games here. I think they get to that end zone, they do it, and then, like we've talked about so many times, they just seem to fall apart, and I think a lot of it has to do with overthinking. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
It's like when, it's like when you go and you text your homie, good morning, and he just hits you with the letter K. You know what I'm saying? You're just kind of like, you start overthinking a little bit. You're thinking like, hey, is he mad at me, or she mad at me? What's going on? You start thinking about that kind of stuff. That's what happens. I think Execute.
I was about to say, you said text the homie good morning.
Yep.
You text your homies good morning? Dang.
Hey, sometimes, it depends on how good of a day I'm having.
Okay.
Yeah, why not? So let's see, if it's going to be a good morning, if the team's going to say good morning to each other after the performance today. Every single time you have a bad one, it's really hard to kind of come back from. And, hopefully we can see Execute dial things in here towards the end because they have the skills, right? They put themselves in some good spots. And then come late game, they just seem to overthink things and just try different splits, drive around that just get them caught.
Yeah, it's just what I talked about earlier in the week, right? They're trying to mimic top-tier team plays, but it's got to be all 4 players that do that play at the same time and synergized. If it's just one player trying to, do part of that play, it just looks so bad, to put it simply, right? Like when a player like Fate, he was trying to make some distractions, make an opening for the team, and he just kept driving around and around and it didn't happen. And it just, at that point, he's just taking free damage. And when he has to stop, you called it out, he has to stop where the rest of his team is, right? He can't stop out in the open. And it just, it's just one thing leads to another and gets worse and worse when the rest of the team isn't on the same page to make a certain play happen.
Well, let's see if it'll happen here, right? We have one last match for the day. This is the time to kind of, punch that ticket, really just say, you know what, we're here, we came to play, and just be able to go to sleep at night like a little baby. That's what you want. Don't want to go mad. Don't go to sleep angry, just frustrated, thinking, should I have done this? Should I have done that? That's just going to make things even harder. So far, so good. No hot drops right now. Everybody just, big chilling, getting looted, and getting ready for the rest of the match, as you say. So far, what do you think has really stood out to you today?
Today, I mean, obviously the first thing is YKG. It's a negative thing that stood out, but they just didn't have a good day whatsoever. PASSIONFRUIT's going to pick up a quick point onto Trip. And nice. I don't think we'll see too much fighting, by the way, for this Vikendi game early on, because the zone is just pretty much right on top of everybody to begin with. In other Vikendi matches, if the zone's a little bit further to the east, a little bit further to the north, teams could safely take isolated fights. But here, with like everybody already somewhere in the zone, an isolated fight may not be as isolated anymore. So I think this one's going to be a little bit slower. But yeah, the thing that stands out is YKG. Really terrible day coming off of the, a day's break after the first week. And I don't know what to really think about it. Obviously for them, it's just, one bad day. I'm sure they'll just brush it off. But it's just really surprising how big of a drop off it was. Just a sudden decline.
Yeah, especially considering that Hyper didn't have a decline pretty much at all, right? They put some pretty good points on the board here today, so that is going to be a nice catch-up one for them, a situation that they were really, really hoping for. Another one that kind of stands out to me is, a little bit of a lull for Puppeteers. I know they're more of our dark horse squad,
Right.
definitely not as a stark comparison as like a shock as YKG having a bad day, but I really had some big hopes from them. They really got me excited. Dong just showing up huge for his squad, going off, and then, back to going to a more subtle type of play. So
Yeah.
they still have this game. Hopefully we can see them put some points on the board here.
Yeah, a lot of teams that ended off really hot, starting off really cold this week. As we see some shenanigans, I think Nate just mollied a teammate. Trying to figure out what's going on with that situation over there. Circle is surely ever so slowly closing. I feel like we've been watching this Zone 1 for so long. We're so used to fights on Vikendi first zone, right? Because it's somewhere on the
Yes.
map where you can find isolated fights. You just can't really find any here. Yeah, look at that minimap. Everybody just in the zone, just chilling and waiting. It's like, we may as well just wait. We're in the circle. There's no real reason to drive around the map to look for fights, so we'll just wait.
Just big chilling right now. And zone center's up, so nothing changes. We're going to see a little bit more hurry up and wait, unless we see some teams get a little anxious. And you know what? We have seen that before, right, Zute? Especially in the last match, I think some of that fatigue sets in for these players.
That is true.
And they just start to say, you know what? Let's just make the push, man. I'm ready to get it done here. Clown gets a nice one on the Kubi. That's the open up that they needed. And he's going to come in, look to get that thirst. He tries to throw a support smoke. He needs to do it with fire rather than smoke. That does cause Clown to hesitate a little bit. The rest of the team does show up. Butterfly effect off a chicken dinner. Now on the back foot. Nice nade, though. D getting a thirst. Putting in some work on Speedfire.
And Hyper actually getting involved here. I think they stole a point away. It popped up on the feed. But Speedfire now know they really have to get going with the shots coming in at their back. Clown with that DBS trying to find opening.
Oh.
Puts up good damage, but goes down. Butterfly effect mounting a good defense. But how much longer can they hold this off? You see in Hyper, the pink on the minimap getting closer and closer. They got to be careful, though, because this is the
Just
center
push.
of the zone.
Just
Center of
do
the
it.
zone.
Just
This
do
could
it.
lead
And
to a
Hyper.
fourth party. This could lead to a fourth party Jukes.
Let it.
Full commit.
Let it. You're at Hyper. Do it. Do it. Get the points. It's dead. Taking way too long. And that's going to allow Butterfly Effect to have their reset. And yeah, in Hyper, it's so funny watching them play and watching them rotate because I could see it. I could see it from a mile away. Their first instinct is to do it, but then they stop.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? They always seem to catch themselves. They're like the kings of second-guessing rotations, at least in my eyes.
You mean not rotations, second guessing pushes.
Correct.
Yeah.
Correct.
Their rotations, immaculate, right? So good at it.
Rotating into a fight. Yeah.
But, yeah, they definitely hesitate. And I think this time, it's not bad that they looked for the opportunity and then backed off, right? As long as they're constantly looking for the opportunity, and then if it feels within their comfort zone or a little bit more in their comfort zone from there, they could go in and, go for it. But backing off right there, it's not bad because Execute's close by, Excuse is kind of there, Puppeteers is there, and Vikendi, Juice. When you start an engagement on Vikendi near center zone, that third party, fourth party, on the last match of the day as well, where teams are, a little bit more tired and might just want to take the fight and get whatever points they can and get it over with, that's risky. That is beyond risky. So I think Hyper did a really good job in pulling back there.
We all know. We know, right? And Hyper, that's the safe play. It's the correct play,
It's the correct
you're
play, even if
it's
you
the
are an
correct play.
aggressive team.
It's the correct play. You know what I'm saying? But I want to see either one or the other from them. I want to see either just a full decision for passiveness or a full decision to go aggressive.
No, you
And
can't
it's like
do
they-
it. You need a balance. At the end of the day, you need a balance. And then Hyper's showing the aggression. I'm all for Hyper backing off there. And then remember the last time on Vikendi where they full sent something for
YKG ain't even here. They ain't even here.
Exactly. They need to get as many points as they can right now to make a statement. And you called it out at the top of the show, Jukes. You were like, with YKG, leading in PMGC points, at least at the start of the day. You're like, Hyper can't make any more mistakes. They need to get as many points as they can. And that's exactly what they're doing, while still looking for somewhat of a third party and, you know, riskier plays, just not fully pulling the gun on it.
Why you gotta bring up old stuff? That was weeks ago.
I'm calling it as it is.
That was weeks ago, bro. Why you gotta bring up old stuff? All right.
Top of the show was weeks ago.
All right. Yeah. Okay. All right. I agree. I know, but a part of me just wants to see it. What can I say?
You just want to watch the world burn.
I just want to see the world burn. I want to see Hyper just go full push, get a wipe, and be like, "Oh, we can do this. It works." You know what I'm saying? But at the same time, you're all right. You know, hey, putting those consistent points on the board, because at the end of the day, that ticket to PMGC.
Yes,
oh my goodness, that is the prize right there. More than, I mean, you can imagine how much prize pool a team would play just to even get that opportunity.
Yeah. And once you get a PMGC, I'm not, you know, 100% sure what it is, but once you get to that stage, you're already pocketing money.
Oh, so, big money.
Big money. So you definitely want to get that ticket. Execute on the south side of things, trying to spread out a little bit, trying to get more info. I don't know if they're aware there's a team behind them. Execute's pretty far out on the edge, so they might make the mistake of thinking their flank is clear here if they don't do their due diligence. And looks like Trick does sniff something out. Now this could be a full-on, you know, just isolated push, since they're more on the edge and outside the center of zone.
Let's see what the push is gonna be. Again, a little quietness before the storm. Very, very stark difference from previous days. Usually the last game, we see a lot of crashes early on.
Yeah.
I think teams now, as we're starting to get deeper into the tournament, we're starting to see a lot more trigger discipline from them.
It's also the circle. The circle is so just meh. You know, it's just like, yeah, like the whole map.
Dino Park finish?
The whole map was just a circle. The teams are like, oh, we're in zone. Like, what do we do? Like, drive out of the circle and find a fight? It's just, yeah, it really slowed things down. But you're right. Dino Park is in the zone. We might see a fun zone ending. But the beginning, slow and steady she goes. That's the name of the game right now, as we're going to head into probably the next circle shift before we see any real action break out.
You know, one thing I want to kind of see from these teams, if I were to, let's just see, this is Hot Juke's nitpicking hour, right?
Okay.
Since we got time. I want to see teams in this phase minimize the amount of wasted movement they have, right? Because there's only so many things that you could do.
Oh, that's very nitpicky.
That is very nitpicky, right?
You're moving around too much. Just sit still.
I mean, not just even moving around side to side, that's fine, right? But seeing a player like run around inside of a building, they can't get any information running around inside.
Okay.
You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
So like either commit to looking in one direction and deciding what to do so you can get more intel, or you could drive around, you know, very, very carefully, try to get some more information that way. But running inside of a building back and forth without being able to see anything, you're just doing nothing, right? As a matter of fact, you're restricting what you can see.
I'm just imagining a full team right now, just in a building running back and forth, not looking at sight lines whatsoever.
They do that, though. Like, you'll watch it. You'll see it happen. Like, you know, like, all right, you see Kaidis there. He's looking in that direction, probably out the window. But, okay, GK first, he's looking over here, right?
Oh, okay, and Hyper isn't going to make that mistake of
and Hyper's not going to make that mistake. Yeah, you can see Rin looking, Kindness.
Look at that. He's lining up his
practicing.
pre-fire.
Yeah. He's practicing. Yeah, okay, all right, that's fine. And then now going back to the commitment, looking in this direction. You know what I'm saying? So it's like, but then again, like looking in that angle, his teammates had that covered. You know what I'm saying? But he was practicing something. He knew that he was chill. So, and who knows? He was looking in this direction. He does get one. And they get 2 knocks. So this is what I'm talking about, right? They did keep an eye out, and they did get it clutch. So, heck, you gotta always keep your eye on the ball. Can't just be looking in different directions.
You know, Kindness makes it look so easy. We already know this is the star player, right? But we just put the camera on him for a couple seconds, and then it's like, oh, there's his first elim of the match right there.
Yeah. Imagine if Kindness was still practicing, though, in that window. He would have never been there to get those shots. You know what I'm saying?
Okay, all right.
Nitpicking hour, guys. Nitpicking hour, all right? That's what I'm talking about. Just, and I'll tell you, top teams, their coaches are nitpicking that kind of stuff. They're going to be like, hey, what are you doing here? What are you doing there, right? Because especially when you're talking about millions of dollars on the line, one knock
is the difference between that and second place. We've seen it happen, right? We've
Yeah.
seen ties for slots. We've seen 1 point difference between hundreds of thousands of dollars. And that one little thirst, because instead of, keeping diligent and staying looking in one direction, instead you're kind of like just moving around, just trying to, buy some time, maybe get warmed up. And that little itty bitty slip up could be a huge difference.
Gotta agree with that one. You speak facts, even if they're nitpicky facts. They are facts still. As we head into the next circle, Canadian Eagles on that north side, a little bit spread out, and we see Baby Tang and Quinn right there. Not sure what's happening. Dino Park, Jukes, maybe.
Dino Park!
Might happen, but
Execute!
not before Execute and Excuse get into a fight. Execute definitely coming out on top in the initial fight right there, taking down 2 members, and they're able to get that revive as well. Excuse just down to the 2. What are they going to do? They're not in zone either. They need to know to make a play right now, because if they stay here any longer, Execute's going to look to finish out the rest of them.
Just push, Excuse. Just push. I want to see more teams make those decisions, because we're starting to see them, wait it out, just try and be like, all right, we're just going to leave 2 players and just try to make something happen. It's so rare for them to put points on the board that way. And really, all it takes is one good knock. If either of those players committed to this fight, got a knock, they could easily turn the fight around.
Well, maybe they're just relying on Execute to mess up, because Execute has been messing up. Not
Oh,
gonna
that's
lie.
close.
They have been messing up here and there, so Excuse, they're just gonna hold the defense and play it to, their advantage, holding some TPP angles. Trick going for that off angle does cut up a lot of what Excuse can move around with, so that's a good off angle to have. Their other 3 just needs to push together now. No more need to make any more fancy plays with the car, right? Just push together
Yes,
S3.
just get there. Just get there.
You have
They lose
all-
Tensa. They did not peek together. Rosh, now they're okay. Beautiful shot there from the back end.
Okay.
Bates running by himself. By himself on this angle. He's going to get naded. Matt. Oh, no, Fate. Oh.
Trick.
They do get the catch, though.
Yeah, Trick from the
They
blue.
do get the catch. Oh, so beautifully done from them. But, the
That
zone
could've
is
gone
starting
so
to close.
bad so
It could-
quickly.
Exactly.
'Cause
exactly
Trick-
what we're talking about.
Trick had the patience and the game sense to stay in the blue, because Fate was going to get naded any second. Any other player in Trick's position might have panicked because he was getting cut by the blue and moved, and then Fate goes down, Trick doesn't get the trade, and then it's a 1v2.
Ugh, brutal. Meanwhile, we're going to watch Butterfly Effect. Previous game winners going up against SLR, and SLR with the DBS putting in a whole bunch of work. It's just D. Last player up for Butterfly Effect. And here comes Long with the DBS, looking to press the action. D trying to throw a nade. Not able to catch anything. He does get the thirst, so nice finish. And the question is, which team will have the most illuminations? As Stellar gets caught, and D finally finished. Good teamwork there from Super Laser Reflex.
Yeah, good job for Super Lazy Reflex taking down Butterfly Effect, team that just won the previous match. New zone pops up, and what a sight to behold. I'm not gonna lie, Jukes, it is unfair how often in Hyper get the circle
It's ridiculous.
in the late
It is-
game. Like the first couple of zones, perfectly fine, because they're just always rotating to the best positions like near center, and they're able to get to the next center because they're in a good position in the previous center. But that circle shift, come on.
I mean, it's on a silver platter at this point. It's on a silver platter.
Yeah.
I was hoping to see a crazy Dino Park finish, but of course,
Same.
the zone had to go off on onto the Hyper, but it is what it is. Let's see how Lotus Esports is going to make this push onto PASSIONFRUIT. MEZEXIS taken out. That's going to leave 10 teams remaining in the final game of the day, guys. Put some hype in the chat. Put who you predict is going to be the winner, who you think is going to get the most eliminations, as things are starting to heat up in the icy tundra.
Lotus Esports navigating Dino Park right now. Yeah, all these teams at Dino Park wished it was a Dino Park end, but it is not going to be. And there's not much cover at all whatsoever besides what Hyper has. So I think this zone is going to cut down a lot of teams, and teams are going to realize, hey, there's nowhere for us to play in the next zone. Let's just take these fights. And that is what they're doing, which I like to see. Lotus, however, the execution is a little bit sloppy. They're getting cut down.
Wow, they thought that this was free, but the trap by Canadian Eagles were just waiting in the Dino Park. Like a T-Rex or a Velociraptor. Just chilling, waiting for their prey. But, you know, they don't throw smokes, but this one does. Bob throwing one out. Kind of a bad smoke in my opinion. He's just going to completely eliminate his own sight lines.
Exactly, and the other player is pushing up off of that. On the flip side of things, PASSIONFRUIT's pushing up on the flank, trying to get some points here. PASSIONFRUIT's down to 3 players, and you can see the zone's right next to them, but you don't care about the zone because that zone almost has nothing for them to play with. They're going to look over here for the points instead. Bob trying to win this 1v1 now. Runs outside as the camera switches over. Back to PASSIONFRUIT's. PASSIONFRUIT's pick up the other side of things. Picks up that LOTUS player. And Nate right here now turning his head on a swivel. It's BULUC from the back. So much third partying going on. All these teams know there's nothing for us in the circle to play with, so we're just going to duke it out here.
Juancho duking it out at the last second. The last PASSIONFRUIT alive does go down, so they're eliminated, but he got a nice little point there at the end of things. Puppeteer! Hey, we called them out, right? We called them out and said, hey, they're having a little bit of a lackluster performance, especially compared to their last day playing. And the next zone comes on up, and Hyper still in it, and Kindness is starting to rack up the points.
Oh, man. That's so unlucky for that player that got taken out by Kindness because the zone shifted that way. If he was able to sneak behind some rock, that might have been a second place finish guaranteed. But
Well,
Kindness, just eyes as sharp as a hawk.
And Hyper winning this game. I put the house on it at this point. I mean, there's no way they lose with how they've been playing today. Having such, this is where they're their best, really. When they have the zone, they're big chilling and just gatekeeping. Because these guys, especially from long mid-range, they just don't miss.
Yeah.
They don't miss. And look at this, GK first. See, not inside the building, running around, looking at something else. He's staring right out that window like he should be.
Execute might be able to do something, though. Execute still have 4. They can just full send it in and get the first compound or first building that NHyper's holding down in that compound. Execute can make something happen. And we might see that NHyper versus Execute rematch where last time on the previous map, NHyper lost that.
Wow. I swear, Dong's worst enemy is Long.
Again, it was Long?
So many times. Yep.
Oh.
Over and over again. And now look, applying more pressure, suppressive fire through the smoke, trying to catch a pixel, not able to do so. And he's going to have to get moving pretty quickly here as this zone, oh, looking pretty for NHyper.
Long is like that older brother that just keeps putting you down.
Yes.
Yeah. XTZ
And
finds
there,
a finish.
down goes Dong.
It's all set for
SLR
them.
running wide in the open. Puppeteer should have a great angle here. Nice pre-fire, though. Beautiful there from SLR. So XTZ is going to pre-fire it once again. Oh,
Yeah.
and Rise. Yeah, with this zone, not much he
Oh.
can do. Never mind.
Good shots.
Wow, great shots there to be able to get that finish.
On the other side of things, while all of that's happening, Execute lost 2 of their members. Not sure what they were trying to do, but the full sending to the compounds is something that they did not do. So instead, they're just going to slowly get picked apart and make it super easy
Koi.
for the side of NHyper. Kill switch in the blue. Cooking, firing off some shots, but that is it. It's all down to Rise now. He made it to the
Wow.
compound, but it's a 1v3.
The last Puppeteer putting up some nice points, but he's going up against NHyper, and NHyper, they don't lose these. They do not lose these. 3v1 should be an easy clap. Here comes a nice little nade, bounce off the tree, and actually, no, it's a stun. He's blind. He's blind,
Oh.
and the nade
Oh my god.
finishes him off. NHyper putting the nail in the coffin after this. YKG, you better watch your back because NHyper, they're coming.
Now imagine, Jukes, imagine if NHyper went for that third party that you called out for earlier that they should have done.
More points.
Something bad happens.
Would have been more points. They would have had
Okay.
18 eliminations instead of 14. Super unfortunate for them.
2,500 damage, though. Geez. Man, NHyper. I mean, that was classic NHyper game. Get zone, shoot everyone down.
Yep.
Right.
Yep. Get zone, shoot at everything, and easy chicken dinner. 8
Kindness again,
eliminations for
Jesus.
Kindness. Wow. I mean, this dude is just a monster today.
He's built
It's his day.
different. He's just built different. Because everyone on his team got the zone. So everyone could have been putting up numbers. But again, it's always Kindness.
Goodness gracious. Throwing up the dueling pistols right there. And he's putting them work with them. He's been putting in work. So crazy to see. This is multiple times I've seen D up on the match report. So good to see D from Butterfly Effect. I'm really proud of their performance here today, right? A nice little improvement from what we've seen before.
This should be a wake-up call, by the way, too, for YKG. Like, hey, you ended off first place, but you slip up just for one day, and your opposing team, your rivals in Hyper, they're not going to slow it down whatsoever.
No, they are not. But I hope you guys don't slow it down. That's it for us today. Let's go ahead and take it to the desk right after these highlights.
How can you do this uneven? All your fans are out there like, yes, he finally got a prediction correct. And then he follows up that prediction with another failed prediction. What's going on, man? Butterfly Effect? Well, I cannot say the name correctly. Butterfly Effect. What was the decision behind the pick?
You know, call it loyalty. They got it for me the first game, or the last game rather, and I had to stick with them. I like their position. I may have failed to see that they were only a 3-man.
He picks Butterfly, and I'm like, bro, why are you picking them? They have 3. He's like, what? They have 3?
Slight
It's
oversight.
It's
Slight
fine.
oversight on my part.
You were just doing your best YKG impression today with your predictions, getting 1 point. Let's take a look at the match rankings, though, get an idea of how many points Ed Hyper got at the very end there. 24, 14 eliminations. So Ed Hyper going to be winning it for myself. I think that was Hot Jukes and Zute all picking in Hyper there. I think I'm 4 out of 5 on the day. Got caught up per production for not, doing well in predictions, except I didn't do the last 2 days of games, and now I'm probably ahead of everyone. But Puppeteer, man, 11 limbs. I'm actually surprised they're able to fight against SLR there and still escape.
I mean, those were some very impressive UMP shots at the end to get that double piece. That was you love seeing that. You don't see that a whole lot in NA. We saw a little bit more of that. I mean, maybe we'd be in contention for Americas, but we saw it there. So I love those mechanics.
And we were talking about Puppeteer, right? You mentioned like Dark Horse. We talked about how like Dom got 30, I think it was like 33 eliminations across 3 days last week at the very end of the week. Like they have that potential. They get the placements as well. So they're starting to get there. But again, I think as you mentioned, consistency is still a little bit lacking.
Yeah, they've got the talent, but they need the refinement. And that's, happens again and again. It's very difficult. It's a lot easier said than done to say improve your consistency, but they're in a much better position than most of these other teams where you don't see a whole lot of spunk of potential there. Like at least we're seeing them put up a fight. We're seeing some mechanical plays. I personally like to see that. I think that it's a good indication that they are a dark horse, that they can do it.
Today's definitely felt a little bit wonky, other than the fact that NHyper just doing NHyper things and Extreme Slayers, for the most part, obviously having a little bit of mismatches here, playing like we knew they could play. But YKG, I don't know what's going on with them in that sense. Execute as well, like Canadian Eagles, we saw do well towards like the midway part of week 1. It's getting a little bit rough, but maybe some of these players need to crack open a Monster Energy, I think the official energy partner here at PMPL, and they can unleash the beast here in the lobby because they're going to need to. We still have 4 days left to go in this week before we can even get into those next days. Let's take a look at Hyper this last match because, man, kindness, he's been ridiculous. He hasn't been kind to this lobby. The lobby's been kind to him. He's had 19 eliminations on the day. He's put up over 1,000 damage multiple times. He's a beast.
Wow. Yeah. Absolutely huge day. I mean, 19 eliminations in 4 games. That's a good KD right there.
You remember what you were saying about Execute and Trick having like was like 1,400 damage and everyone else had like less than 500? Like, you love to, you hate to see it, but you kind of love to see it. Isn't that like the same thing here, except NHyper just won the game?
Yeah. So again, the context does matter.
Okay,
NHyper was dead center all game. So when that happens, it's one of those situations that I also talked about before where you can get a lot of damage points. It's hard to convert, and it kind of depends who's playing what in the split. They really didn't rotate off of their Vikendi compound, so I'm guessing he had the best. Maybe it's like some like a 2-story house or something. He had the best view, and the rest of his
We're on
team
the roof,
had to hold their
remember?
positions. You know, I remember GK first. He was holding the extremities in that shack. He didn't have line of sight anywhere. Everybody's got their own role, and this makes more sense to me. When a team is in that kind of position, they're not really moving around. Naturally, whoever's just in that better position that got that role is gonna end up stacking up those kill points and those damage points. So in this context, I don't mind it as much, especially because they got
That's
that win.
fair. I mean, as you were talking about, like GK first watching a certain extremity, right? He's watching like the north to east sides, like northeast kind of total. He had 412 Nomads there. He had SLR there, and then if you look at where Kindness was looking, you've got Puppeteers, you got Mazexis, you've got Canadian Eagles, you got Lotus, you got PASSIONFRUIT. Like you have all these other teams to choose from and get that damage and eliminations in. So definitely a good point there. But you know, and even as this is your like first day on the show, what was your takeaway from the day? Like what surprised you? What let you down? Hit me up then if you got any thoughts. Any even thoughts?
Typically in lobbies like this, I do tend to expect it to be very top heavy. Kind of like what we saw last week, in especially with the Puppeteers, how they're like kind of really dominating these games with their momentum, really putting big performances. Because when the overall quality of a lobby is kind of lower, you tend to see just more top heavy days. That's just how it ends up working. Like teams find their momentum and all the other ones fail. And here we just saw a lot of different people winning, a lot of mixing it up. I saw some good mechanics from more team than I expected. I'll be honest. I also saw some worse mechanics than I expected somehow. But we're getting a whole lot of jumble, whole big mix of a lot of randomness.
Yeah, that's fair.
Yeah,
I think especially after like a day break like this of having week phase 1 into phase 2, a lot of things are going to change. Groups have changed as well, right? So like the drop locations you thought you would have safe might be a little bit more contested, or your rotational pass, you have to get used to having different teams in your lobbies. And obviously everyone else like adjusting their own play style to the lobbies. So there's a lot of feeling out to do. I feel like maybe in day 2, maybe day 3, we'll get a little bit more of normality in these lobbies, and we'll start to see like more consistent play out of some teams. But I mean, right now we are seeing some teams really adapt their styles a bit and try to figure out what they can do right, especially if you're one of those middle of the pack teams, as you mentioned, or maybe even lower than that. You realize you have to do something. You have to have a drastic change, and this is the perfect time at the beginning of the week to make those changes happen.
absolutely. I'd love to see some, maybe new teams or, even some of the old top teams find their flow, because it's always entertaining when people, are starting to play really well and start stacking up on top of each other. That's when you see those blowout performances. That's the most entertaining, right? So I would love to see some teams find their flow, and realistically, anybody from the 8th place and above, maybe even lower, although it gets less likely, can have those find their flows and pick it up and shoot through the leaderboards. It is absolutely not over. We got 2 whole weeks left, and those points culminate. So
Exactly. And let us know who you want to see get into their flow. You can always tweet to us or Instagram, whatever you want to do. Just make sure you use the hashtag PMPLNA. Even join the Discord server and tag us there as well, and let us know, what teams do you want to see get in the flow? How are they getting the flow? Who's going to flow the best? I don't know. But maybe you can let us know your thoughts. But Uneven, it's been interesting having you on the show. I'm used to like having to talk about you. At least I can talk about you to your face. Sometimes good things, sometimes bad things. We'll see. We still have 4 days of action left to go here at PMPL in phase 2. I'm Jason Kaplan. He's been Uneven. Hachuk Zute, thank you very much for all your commentary work as well. We'll be back at the exact same time tomorrow for some more PUBG Mobile action, so make sure you don't miss out.
out this side of the map a little early on, but they're staying completely away. K19 and
Still got one up. The DBS.
It's out. Oh my gosh.
Walking right into the DBS. The 1v2 right now, Hot Jukes.
Alf, it's your time.
No!
Can you do this? He gets another. One more. The DBS under. Where are